guys, welcome back to Webinar Wednesday. Webinar Wednesday. So today's topic, we're actually going to talk about collection accounts. I get a lot of questions about collection accounts, whether you should settle them, whether you should pay them, or whether you should just ignore them, right? And even like, what's the differences between those three statuses? What's the differences between those three statuses, and also like how do you know when to do what? You know, when to do what. So we are going to discuss all of that today. And I am so super excited to get into this topic with you guys because, like I said, it is one of those frequently asked questions that I get pretty much like on a daily basis. And I'm like, yeah, we need to discuss this and just put an end to like all of the speculation. So I wanted to use this week's webinar Wednesday to discuss this topic. Okay. And then later on, as the weeks come, we'll get more and more into different frequently asked questions that I have put together, full webinars in order to like actually answer the question, just to ensure that we're all on the same page. We're all like having a full understanding of the topics in the questions that we're asking, right? So I thought we would kick it off with this, which is how to handle collection accounts in 2025. Should you pay your collections? Should you settle your collections? Or should you simply just ignore your collections? Should you ignore them? So we're going to get into that. We are going to get into that. Let me bring up the presentation. Hey. Should I do Instagram as well? I hadn't. You know what? Yeah, let's just go ahead and might as well. We might as well add them. I wasn't thinking about them, but while I'm doing this, let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys have settled or paid a collection before? How many of you have either settled or paid a collection before? And actually, because the real answer that I want to know is like, what happened after? After you paid your collection, after you settled your collection, what happened? Were you satisfied with the results, or were you wishing that you didn't pay it? Were you wishing that you didn't pay it? You so did you are you okay with it? Where my phone? Oh no, did I leave my phone? Freak. I left my phone and I need my phone in order to sign into IG. Dang it. Dang it. I'll have my son run it up to me. All right. Oh, so yeah, I see a lot of people saying, yes, you have. You didn't. What happened? So your score dropped? Your score dropped? All right. We'll add Instagram on when they can get in. You paid and deleted it. Wishing that you didn't pay. Wishing that you didn't pay. I know that's right. But okay. So it definitely matters which option that you pick, especially depending on like what type of collection it is, what your current happenings, what's going on your credit report currently, and also like what are your future goals? What are you looking to do? Are you in the middle of buying a home? Are you preparing to buy a home? Are you just trying to get an increase on your credit score? What are you actually trying to, or why are you trying to solve this particular collection? Is it just because it's a collection, or you just want the best for your credit profile and like your financial life? I'm hoping it's the second one. And we'll discuss all of that today. Who was the light company? I don't know. All right, so I'm going to pull up the presentation and let me know. Okay, you guys can't see it. I'm going to remove the comments for now. And then we will discuss a few things. All right. All right. So welcome to all the credit cousins out there. Welcome everyone that is in the building tonight. Of all the places in the world, I am honored that you are here with me. And I don't take that lightly. Like, I love that for you, and I love that for me. Because today we're going to talk about collections. We're going to discuss different options when it comes to handling collections. What are your legal rights when it comes to handling them? And also, should you pay them? Should you settle them? or should you simply ignore them? What's the best answer, right? We all want the best. We all want to make sure that we choose the best option. And also, we don't want to be wasting money. And I don't want you wasting. I don't want you out here wasting money either. So we are going to like go through each one and discuss all of that today. Okay. All right. So we're in. We don't. I'm not going to be before you long because I said I was going to try my best to make it under an hour and 30 minutes, including the Q&A. And so I'm a fast track, not even fast track, but I'm just going to ensure that I am staying on track throughout this webinar. Okay. All right. And also I am going to save all questions for the Q&A section at the end. So if you do have a pressing question, you can of course write it in the comments and I may see it, but for the most part, I will likely answer them at the end. Okay, y'all. All right. All right, let's get it going. Let's get it going. All right, so by the end of today, my goal is for you guys to have an answer to all of the pressing questions that you've been holding, and also know exactly how to tell which collections to pay. That's on your credit report. Like actually look at your credit report and be able to say, okay, this is this type of collection, and I should do this with it, right? Like have a clear game plan or action plan going forward, so that you're not confused about this question anymore. So, how to tell which collections to pay, which to settle, and which you can safely ignore without having to worry about any legal ramifications on the backside, right? So, the topics that we will be discussing today are the truth about paying versus settling. Like, what is the difference? And what is the real tea about both of those options, right? What happens after you commit to either one of those options? Also, we'll discuss when ignoring collections is actually better. Like, believe it or not, I I am not always on the team pay this collection or the team you should pay this collection. I'm not always on that boat. Rarely. Well, let me not say that, but there are very specific times where I would say, yeah, I would just ignore that, or I would not pay that, right? And we'll discuss that today. And then also we will be covering how these impact your scores, right? Like obviously the point of trying to get rid of your collections or pay them or delete them is to improve your credit report, right? And improve your credit score. So we're going to discuss how each of these options impact your score. Like what can you expect after you do these, right? And then also we'll be discussing your rights, your legal rights when it comes to collections, because it definitely has a part to play in which option that you choose. And then also what lenders and underwriters actually care about. Like, do they care if you settle the collection versus paid it? Or um, are they going to be frowning upon you because you're trying to save a little money? You know, we don't know. We don't know. We're going to find out. Okay. All right. So I hope you guys have a little snacky snack, something to drink, be it water, wine, doesn't matter, but also have your notes, okay? Because that's the most important part. Actually, have your notes. Have your notes, please. Okay. All right. So let's go. Oh, I gotta do it this way. All right. So starting off strong. One of the things that I found most interesting when I was looking into this is the fact that that was supposed to say 78%, guys. Dang it, that was supposed to say 78%. But anyways, 78% of Americans have debt collections on their credit reports, right? And that was literally over 70 million people that have active current collection accounts that are reporting to their credit report. And, they don't, 1 in 4 people don't actually know what to do about that, right? Like literally pretty much everyone that we know, every 1 in 4 person that we know have either had a collection or currently have a collection right now. So you are not alone. You are not alone at all. So don't feel like overwhelmed or, just downtrodden about the fact that you have collections and maybe you have been trying to dispute them or just solve them, and you're thinking that like there's nothing that you can do in order to improve your credit or to address these collections. Don't even worry. Don't even worry. Okay. Because we're definitely going to talk about it today. All right. Now, off the bat, I wanted to talk about common mistakes that I see made daily or that is pretty much brought to my attention regularly. And those things are number one, like paying without checking the statute of limitations. The worst thing, that I see is like a person that will just automatically think that whenever they pay a collection, then that's the solution to all of their problems, and their credit score is going to increase drastically, and they're going to be able to get approved for the credit limit in the house and everything that they've been wanting. And that can't be further from the truth, because the real the truth is, rather, sometimes collections are time barred, sometimes they are outside of the statute of limitations, sometimes they're not even validate. Like, there are so many instances in situations that can apply to your collections, and I want to make sure that before you just like throw money at it, because then you're not solving the problem. You're literally not solving the problem. Another mistake I see being made is trusting collectors without written proof. Yeah, I know. Now, if you are not new, if you're not new here, then you know how I feel about written communications. I need everything in writing. I need everything in writing. And I also need you guys to want everything in writing as well, especially when it comes to the collection agencies. There's a particular, what's the word? Disdain. I'll say disdain. I was gonna say hate, but we'll just say disdain. That I have in the deep crevices of my heart when it comes to how shady collection agencies can be. Because, by the way, if you obviously haven't realized yet, we are obviously only talking about collection accounts today, and so in that we'll be discussing debt buyers and collection agencies and all of that, and also like some of our legal rights a little bit down the line. But I say all of that to say, the reason why the FDCPA and other bodies of statutes and laws and our consumer rights exist is because collection agencies are shady. Like, literally, that's why these laws exist. And knowing that you have to be very careful with how you behave with them, and you have to be smart about it. You want to make sure that you are protected, because you have to understand that they only want money. Like, the bottom line is they want to get you to pay your collection account. They want your money, and they will get it by any means necessary a lot of the time. So I want to make sure that we are all protecting ourselves and not like freaking giving up rights that we're not even aware of, because that's the worst. So stop trusting them without written proof. If they say, yeah, we'll accept $50 for this $500 debt, and then we'll delete the account after you pay it, and then you make that payment, they never sent it to you in writing, and the collection account never goes away. Also, they're not even counting your partial payment as a full payment, which is a settlement. So they're not reporting to the credit bureaus that you have fully paid off this account according to you guys' verbal agreement. And unfortunately, because you can't prove that, they're obviously going to have their best interest at heart, and they're going to say, we never told Shonda that we'll accept $50 for this $500 account. She paid $50, and we just assumed that was like a down payment towards the account, and she was going to set up a payment agreement for the remaining balance, right? That gives them more leeway to not only sue you, because verbal agreements do hold up in court, especially when it comes to collection agencies, because they record everything. And then also, you have extended like the statute of limitations, and we'll talk about that, but I don't want to get too deep into it. But anyways, stop trusting them without written proof. Make sure everything that they promise, everything, whether that's a pay to delete, whether that's a settlement agreement, get it in writing. Get it in writing. Request writing. When they call you, I don't care how many times you say, hey, I would prefer to only communicate with you via written communication. And that is your right. And we'll discuss that. But also, it just protects you. It provides a layer of protection for your rights. Okay, so they're not being taken advantage of. I don't want us to be taken advantage of. All right. Now, what else? Oh, making partial payments or even promising to pay. Um, I can just talk about this now because I don't think I had a slide on this. But whenever a collection agency calls you on the phone, you need to make sure that you are never making any partial payments, but also you're not making any promises to pay. And statements such as call me back Friday because that's when I get paid, and I'll see how much I can pay. That is a promise to pay. That legally, whenever you make any partial payments or any promise to pay, that legally restarts the statute of limitations, restarts the clock. Okay, so we just got to be very careful again with how we communicate with them, making sure that everything is in writing and you're not getting caught up on the phone. Like, I don't even talk to them. Write it, mail me, and then I'll address it then. You know, that's pretty much how I behave when it comes to the collection agencies. Also, another common mistake that I see is using your main bank account to pay. OMG. I cannot stress. So let's just say you received a settlement agreement in writing, they signed it, both parties are on the same page. They agreed to accept $50 for this $500 account. You agreed to it as well. You send the payment. Never, ever, ever use your main bank account. Don't do it. That gives them access to your bank account. And not to say that every company is going to rob you blind, because most of them probably are not. However, it is a possibility that they will. And what happens if later on down the line you owe a debt to the same company? Um, what will stop them from just using your bank account to pay for a debt that you haven't went through the proper uh, journey in order to ensure that it's like validated, right? That's illegal if they do it, but if you don't know it's illegal, like most people don't really know their consumer rights, then you're just SOL. So just don't pay with your main bank account. No, 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 no. I would pay with either a prepaid like credit card or Visa card, whatever the case, or a money order. And yeah, I'm not paying with my main bank account. No way. Or if you have like an Apple card, like the Apple card allows you to make new virtual credit card numbers. I believe Capital One does that as well. I would pay like that, where it's like a temporary number that expires and that's it, right? And then the last mistake or common mistake that I wanted to address today is admitting that the debt is yours in writing or honestly even verbal. Because again, because they record our phone calls, then they are able they'll print out a transcript of the phone call and then send it to the credit bureaus to prove that, hey, Shonda admitted that this account was hers. And mind you, it's never outright you saying like, yeah, this account is mine. Yeah, they do things like, and this was happening a lot about 2 years ago. It was happening with medical bills a lot. So it would be a collection agency who has just obtained a debt from like a medical provider, right? They would call the consumer, hey, Shonda, we have this debt, whatever the case may be, right? And then they'll say something along the lines of, we were just calling to check on your service or your experience at Mary Hospital on November 2nd, right? How was the experience? And you might say, yeah, it was fine, thinking it's like a survey or something like that. Next thing you know, you saying that my visit was fine or whatever grievances that you vent to them about your experience, that is literally you admitting or taking validation of this debt. So again, it's sneaky, tricky things like that in situations like that they'll put you in, and you don't realize that you're telling on yourself. You don't realize that you are literally validating your own debt, and they just eating it up literally because that's all they need to prove that it's yours. You literally admitted to the debt, and they were doing it, like I said, a few years ago. So I'm hoping they're still not doing it, but I'm sure it's a new way, a sneakier way at this point. So just try to avoid talking to them. Just try to avoid talking to them. All right. All right. Okay, so now before we get into our options and talk about all of that, we do have to first understand the different types of collections. Okay, you can't properly address a collection account unless you know what type of account you're dealing with, unless you know who owns the debt and all of that. So before you just go in and just try to decide, hey, I'm gonna pay this, I'm gonna settle this, or I'm gonna ignore this, you first need to, step one is understanding what collection type you are dealing with, what type of collection you are dealing with. That's step number one. There are pretty much three different types of collections. They all fall into these three categories. The first type is going to be like your original creditor charged off accounts. Those accounts are charged off by the original creditor. So think Capital One, think Chase, the list goes on. Your creditor closes and charges off the account. Once the account is charged off, they will either send it to a collection agency or sell it to a debt buyer. Okay. But the important part about this is collections that is rooted, or collections that's rooted from an original charged off account. So I categorize this into its own category. for a reason, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then also what's important to know about these charge-offs are they're still owned by the original creditor. They are still owned by the original creditor. So if Capital One charged it off and it's still showing an active charge-off on your credit report, that is still under the ownership of the original creditor. And that matters because it does matter how you approach the collection, approach the charge off and approach the account, and also your rights. Then the second most important parts about understanding like original creditor charge offs is usually the original creditor is a little more willing to work with you. When I say they're a little more willing to work with you, what I mean is they have more leeway because it's their account, because they're typically the holders of the records and can prove the debt and all of that. They're a lot more open to discussing things like settlements, even sometimes pay to release, especially if you catch them during the right time frame. Yeah, right. Like, because a lot of times when companies assign it to these third party collection agencies or even debt buyers, they are operating or handling the collection under the guidelines of what the original creditor has already said. So when I say they're more willing to work with you, they are usually more willing to accept settlements. I'll say that settlements galore are typically going to be your charged off accounts. Okay. Now, the second type of account I want to bring to you guys' attention is third party collection accounts. These are like your standard collection accounts where you will see it's not owned by the original creditor any longer. So now you will see collection agencies on your credit report. These are going to be third party collection agencies that you don't have a direct contract in place with. You didn't sign up for an account with ABC Collection, right? No, they either was assigned the debt by your original creditor or they bought the debt, right? So these are again going to be third party agencies who aren't typically versed in all of the account history, hold the contracts and paperwork that they're supposed to hold. And these are going to be accounts that, in my opinion, you are more likely to get them removed, number one. But also, these are going to be the types where pay to deletes are very prominent. Okay. And then we have debt buyer accounts. So these are also collection accounts, but what's unique about debt buyers buy accounts, collection accounts, is instead of the company who owns the debt now being considered a third party collection agencies like this list, debt buyers purchase the debt in full. They purchase the debt and they purchase all the rights to the debt. So that means that they own the debt, number one. They typically have more information about the account history, paperwork, documents, and all of that than these third party collection agencies. So they can be a little harder to deal with. These are going to be companies like LVNV, Midland Funding, all of those like debt buyers that's notoriously known for suing and all of that. These companies, when you have a collection account that falls under being a debt buyer, typically you're going to get companies who are legal happy, like they love to file a lawsuit, take you to court, end up getting a default judgment so they can like garnish your wages, seize your bank account, seize your property, right? Because they own the debt, they can pretty much decide what they want to do with it. But one interesting thing rather to know about them is most debt buyers focus on accounts that are previous credit cards from banks. So those are going to be like those previous credit card accounts make up about 85% of debt buyer accounts. So if you had a credit card close and get charged off, typically speaking, a debt buyer is going to come in at some point and try to purchase that account, right? It's just how it goes. So again, when a collection falls under debt buyer, it's no longer owned by the original creditor. So Capital One no longer owns this account. They have no right to it. They can't, if you call Capital One, they can't provide you any information on this account anymore. They'll say things like, well, we'll transfer you or send you the information to the collection agency. They can't really talk about the account because again, they don't own the account. They can't tell you that they're going to accept the settlement or anything like that. So they can't do it. Okay. Okay, let me see. Oh, actually, it's okay, but It's okay. I figured it out. Thank you. I love you more. Um. Oh, okay, it froze on my end. I didn't know if it froze on yours. All right. Let's see. Wait, is it still froze? Let's see. Okay, it's working now. Okay. Now, when it comes to, I'm gonna come back to this slide because I actually wanted to discuss an important note. All right. So before you can decide again what you want to do with the debt, if you want to pay it, if you want to settle it, or if you want to simply just ignore it, um, and now that you know what type of collection you're dealing with, whether it's a charged off account, whether it's a from a third party collection agency, or whether it's a debt buyer. Now that you know all of that, now you need to figure out who owns the debt. Most people would have figured this out in the previous step that we just talked about. Whenever you like decide what type of collection you have, typically you that's because you know who owns the debt. But I wanted to discuss a little more in detail about who owns the debt because it is important based on like your rights, right? Number one, whenever it comes to these charged off accounts, who owns it is the original creditor, as we discussed, right? A lot of this is just reiteration of points that I've stated in a previous slide. But I like to give you guys visuals like this so you can screenshot it and then like have a quick reference to come back to. Just because that's how I just keep a million screenshots in my phone. And so I just be thinking, yeah, I want that too. Okay. So this pretty much is a reiteration. Like I said, if it's an original, if it's a charged off account that's still with the original creditor, then the original creditor still owns that account. Um, and obviously if they're the original creditor, how they gained ownership of that account is through a contract with you. You signed up for T-Mobile, you signed up to get a Capital One credit card, you signed a contract to do business with this company, therefore they obviously own the account. If you do have a charged off account on your credit report, then just know that the original creditor still owns the debt, so it's going to be hard. These are going to be the hardest account types to get deleted. Okay, they're going to be the hardest account types to get deleted. However, that doesn't mean that you're just SOL when it comes to charged off accounts. This is just a starting point. So once you realize that it's a charged off account, then you know, okay, I'm not going to send them a pay to delete because less than 1% of charged off accounts equate or equal um, to a pay to delete. Like most of the times, original creditors are not going to accept a pay to delete. However, as I told you guys, charged off accounts are original creditors will accept settlements. Okay, so and really good settlements. So depending on how much you owe, I typically start around 30% of whatever like the remaining balance is or whatever the balance is on that charged off account. I tend to like start off at like 30%. Hey, I have 30% of this. I can set up a payment arrangement, or I can pay it now. Blah blah blah. Right? Like, will you accept this as paid in full? And the reason why settlements are more prominent when it comes to charged off accounts than let's say pay to deletes is because, like I said, the original creditor is not going to delete it. It does them. It literally does them. They have no incentive to delete it. Right? You got to understand they're already on your credit report. They're a native account on your credit report. They have a contract in place with you. They have the full account history with you. All the ball is in their court. Like if we just keeping it funky, the ball is in their court because they have everything to prove that this account is validated typically, which is why they're the hardest to challenge, the hardest to be removed. It just is what it is. And so if they agree to remove this account off your credit report, they're not gaining anything, right? Like it's not like you can hold that over them like, hey, if you want to receive your payment, then you need to delete this. They're going to be like, well, no, and we're just going to sue you, right? Like, because we can prove that the debt is yours. We can prove that, whatever the case, and the ball is in their court. So we don't really have much like leeway when it comes to pay to deletes with charge offs specifically. So settlements are typically my go-to for charged off accounts, unless there's like a reporting error, but we're not discussing like disputing them necessarily in detail today. So I'll save that for another webinar Wednesday. Okay. Now, then these third party collection agencies, these are my personal favorite to dispute. I have my my personal advice would be if you have a third party collection agencies, my last option or my last step rather is to pay it. before I even think about settling this collection, before I even think about paying this collection, I'm going to first be like try to challenge it, making sure that this collection agency has all the paperwork that they legally are required to have in order to collect on this debt, making sure that they're not reporting any misinformation, any inconsistent information. For more information about that, like definitely go watch one of the previous webinars that I've done about collection accounts, namely Credit Bootcamp, which is posted for anyone, all of the credit cousins worldwide on my YouTube page for free. It's a five-part series discussing all the like basics and the fundamental information when it comes to like building credit, disputing credit, collections, charge-offs, all of that. Okay, just shameless plug. Okay, it's on my YouTube page, but when it comes to third party collection agencies, my go to is always pay to delete. So if I am going to pay you, collection agency, then I need a deletion. Okay. So unlike the original creditor, collection agencies, they definitely are incentivized to accept pay to delete simply because number one, it costs them every month to report to the credit bureaus. So they don't necessarily want to report. They have to pay in order to report to all three credit bureaus. So once they get their money, they don't really care about none of that. Like, okay, yeah, they'll remove it with no problem. It makes them know never mind, right? But if they can get you to pay them, because ultimately that's what they want is the money. If they can increase your likelihood of paying them, then sure, we'll delete it. As a result of you paying this account. Typically, when it comes to pay to deletes, you're going to have to pay in full, and they don't accept settlement. So typically, obviously, this is not a 100% of the time because a lot of times they will accept both, but those are two different things. Okay. Um. Okay, and so who owns the debt when it comes to third party collection agencies? That depends, because sometimes original creditors will assign it to a collection agency. So maybe they'll have a partnership with a collection agency, and they'll say, "Hey, can you collect on this?" Meaning, can you try to contact the consumer? Can you find their phone numbers, their address, and just basically stalk them in order to see what's going on with their money, if you believe that they can afford it based on what you're finding, and if so, contact them, try to get them to settle. This is the least amount that we'll accept on this account, etc., etc., etc. Right, so they can either assign it to a collection agency, or they can go ahead and just fully just transfer it fully to a collection agency, right? But they're still considered a third party report. They're still considered a third party collector. Okay, so they're still considered a third party collector unless they actually purchase the debt in full and purchase the rights to the debt. When it comes to third party collection agencies, you want to make sure that they are number one legally able to collect in your state. The chances of that one it isn't as high as it used to be, so I don't like to really bank on that particular one. But I will say, making sure that they have their paperwork. 9 times out of 10, they don't have their paperwork. 9 times out of 10, you can you can stop that collection before it ever reports on your credit report, simply by asking for a proper validation, and we'll get into that in the next slide. Um, these third party collection agencies, they literally buy these accounts for pennies on a dollar. So a lot of times they're buying thousands and thousands of debt at a time. They buy it in bulk, so they don't really have all the paperwork that they are supposed to have when it comes to like being able to legally collect on this debt. They don't have ownership records. They don't have the original creditors records, right? So that typically leads to reporting errors, inconsistent reporting, misinformation, and all of that, right? So which is why, like I said, those are my favorite two dispute or to challenge with the credit bureaus. Okay. How did the debt get to a third party collection agency? It was from the original creditor. They either assigned it or transferred it to them. But what does that mean for you? That simply means that you have to understand that again, because they don't own the debt, they're just collecting on it. That limits how much information that they can legally be given access to. So they don't not so basically in plain language, they don't be having what they're supposed to have in order to actually enforce collection on that account. And all it takes is you challenging them properly by sending one letter. And if they don't respond in a timely manner, in a certain type of way, then that collection account is not collectible. They cannot legally collect on that account. They cannot legally send it to the credit bureaus to affect your credit report or none of that. Okay, so that's important. That's so important, especially for I believe the next slide. And then the last type is debt buyers. Now, again, I'm not going to go over this one again because I pretty much went into detail about debt buyers in the last slide, which is uh, they own the debt now. So they purchased it in the full legal rights from the original creditor. And now they own it. The only thing that you need to be concerned about when it comes to debt buyers is ensuring rather that they are able to give you a full validation, which most of the time they typically are, but sometimes they're not. Before you try to pay it or settle it, okay? Please, 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 please. All right. Now, why ownership matters? Why does it matter who owns the account? Simply because only the current legal owner of the debt of the collection account has the right to sue or enforce collections. Like I just said, if they are not the legal owner, then they just talking. They're just talking. Especially, I don't want to get into that. So, if a collector cannot demonstrate ownership, and that's important, and I should have highlighted demonstrate ownership. That is so important when it comes to our rights and them being able to and you being able to enforce your rights rather. If they cannot provide or demonstrate ownership, then they may be in violation of an FDCPA right that we'll discuss shortly. Okay, and then credit wise, ownership matters because the report could show both the original creditor, so you can have a charge off on your account, and then you can also have the collection account that has rooted from this charged off account, both reporting on your credit report, both stating that you owe them X amount of dollars, right? They're both claiming ownership of the account. They're both claiming that you owe them money, and thus they're both affecting you separately. So, like for one account, you're being heavily affected on two accords, right? And that's considered double jeopardy, and yeah, but a lot of times it happens, and most people don't even realize it. They don't even clock it because they're unsure of what they're looking at, right? So before we move on, quick tip: always identify who owns the debt before you take action. So again, I said this was step number one for a reason. You have to know who has the current ownership of. Ooh, sorry. You always want to make sure that you have a full understanding and a clear understanding of who currently owns the account. Okay. Do not decide. You should not be deciding if you should pay, settle, or uh ignore this collection until you know who has current ownership of the account. Okay? Don't just say, Sean, I got a collection account. No, 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 no. What type of collection account do you have? What type of collection account do you have? Is it with a third party collector? Is it with a debt buyer? Is it rooted from an original charged off account? Okay. Also, another tip that I didn't include, I just thought about. The quickest way to find out, I guess, who owns it, to make it as least difficult as possible, rather, you should contact your original creditor. So if you see a collection account on your credit report and you're unsure of who has current ownership, you don't have the collection notice or nothing like that, then the first thing you need to do is call the original creditor, right? Capital One, ring, ring, ring. Simply just say to them something along the lines of, is it possible if you can recall this account from collections so that I can resolve it directly with you? Always request. So if you have determined, or if you don't make, either if you do not know who currently owns the account, or you know that the original, that the original creditor still has legal ownership of the account, right? You need to request a recall from collections. Y'all, I am not exaggerating when I say the success rate of a recall, because it's a simple thing, is about 60%, if not more. If not more. I believe I'm not being generous enough. If not more. You need to always request a recall if a debt, basically in every situation other than if a debt buyer has purchased that account, you need to request a recall from the original creditor. Request that they recall the account from collections and uh give you the ability to resolve the account directly with them. Why do you want to do that? Simply because number one is, this is one of like those workarounds that um affects you in more than one way, rather. So not only are you contacting the original creditor in order to work on the account, number one, you know that they have all the correct information for the account. Again, it's not a third party entity. Like it's them. They've been doing business with you. You have a relationship with them, etc. Right. Number two, it removes the legal right from the collection agency in order to collect on the account. If the original creditor accepts a recall or recalls the account from collection, then the collection agency no longer has a legal right to collect on this debt. So you know what has to happen? They have to be removed from your credit report, and that they have to be removed simply because they cannot say that they received a payment for the account. So if they are reporting a balance, let's say it's a $500 collection, they're reporting a balance of $500. You get the account recalled to the original creditor. The collection agency cannot then report that the balance is zero and report that you've made a payment with them, because that's a lie. You did not make a payment with them. You made a payment with the original creditor. Therefore, their account is no longer collectible, right? And a lot of times I'll see this happening, and the collection agency won't actually remove on your credit report. They won't delete their account. They won't retract their account off your credit report. They'll leave the collection on your credit report, and then they'll just basically make it seem like you paid them. They'll put the balance at zero, and that's it, right? And it appears to like lenders, it'll appear to them as though you paid the account directly to the collection agency and you did not work out nothing with the original creditor, right? So you don't, so now that collection account is still going to affect your score, because again, a collection is a collection regardless of how much the collection is. It's still a collection, it's still a derogatory account, and it is still doing it is still having a negative impact on your credit score and your credit profile. Regardless, it does not matter. A collection is a collection. Okay. And the second that a collection hits your credit report, it's done all the damage that it'll ever do. So when it hits the points that you lose, the notches that your credit profile goes down, that's done. That's it. That collection is not going to continually affect you. In fact, the older a collection is, the time since your most recent collection, the more that increases, then the less impact that collection has on your score. So again, it hits your credit report, does all the damage that it'll ever do, and the only thing that'll balance out the damage is for that account to be removed. Okay, whenever a collection agency hit you with a, we're not going to delete this account, but we'll mark it as paid on your credit report, that's not doing you a favor. Like that doesn't actually help you, right? Like they think that, well, they know that most consumers will believe that that's like a great thing, but that doesn't actually take the collection off your credit report. Like it's, you still have a collection, it just is a zero balance, but it is still a collection. Okay. So it's important. Oh, I was on the wrong slide, my bad. I wouldn't actually, whatever. So it's important to understand that if you get a recall from your original creditor, then that strips the collection agency of its rights to collect on a debt, and they have no other option but to delete the account. You don't have to go back and forth with them. Once you can prove that the original creditor has accepted your money, then that's all the proof that you need in order to show that the collection agency no longer has ownership of the account. Okay, so always ask for a recall if you can. Always. So now you know like who owns the debt. Now we figured out who owns the debt. Let's talk about why paying it, why just outright paying a collection account doesn't always help your credit score or like your borrowing power or your credit profile. But actually, I wanted to put this in the presentation. So let me pause what I just said real quick for right now. Whenever I was talking about on the last slide about requesting validation for your third party collections, everybody should always have access to a debt validation letter. A debt validation letter is nothing more than you requesting and ensuring proper ownership of the account, ensuring that the collection agency has the proper paperwork, can prove that the account belongs to them, can prove that they can collect on the account, and also showcase how much knowledge that they have about the account. You always want to request a validation. The second that you get a collection notice in the mail, you should always request a validation of the debt. It's always best to do this the second that you receive the collection notice, because for those of you who may not know, whenever a collection notice is delivered to your address, the address that the collection agency has on file, there's a timer that starts, a countdown that starts. That countdown is 30 days. So for 30 days, you as a consumer has the full right to request that the collection agency validates the account. And whenever you are requesting that they validate the account, what you're really asking is who owns this account right now, and show me and prove it to me, right? Um, demand, like, or I'm sorry, you're requesting that they tell you who has current ownership of the account, who the original creditor was, what is the balance on the account, and is it accurate, right? Like, are they putting adding fees on the account? And also, you are able to determine when was the date of first delinquency. That's important for a whole nother reason. That's important so that they know how long that account can report on your credit report. But I don't want to get into like a whole sidebar on that because we have a webinar coming up about that. Okay, so again, you send them a debt validation letter, and y'all can literally just screenshot this. A debt validation letter don't have to be, you don't really have to vary too much from the template that's on the screen, because they are very just clear and cut. It's simply just as you can see, it says, please supply the information below so that I have all the information, the name and address of the creditor to whom the debt is currently owned. Also, if this debt started with a different creditor, provide the name and address of the original creditor, the account number used by that creditor, and the amount owed to that creditor at the time that it was transferred. That's important, because did you add some fees on this after you received this account from the original creditor? Did you add interest? What are you tacking on to this balance, right? And also who currently owns it. And then this is important: provide verification and documentation that there is a valid basis for claiming that I must pay the debt to the current creditor. For example, can you provide a copy of the written agreement that created my original requirement to pay? So remember when I was telling you guys that most third-party collection agencies don't have the required paperwork? Their required paperwork is simply what you are requesting in this letter. A proper debt validation letter is your request to require them to fully give you what they have on you, basically, right? Like, who owns this, who owned it, and who owned it prior to this, how much did I owe when you received this account from the original creditor, uh give me a breakdown of the expenses, and also any documents that you own the debt, that they sold this account to you. So again, 9 times out of 10 collection agencies are not going to have this information. So if you send a debt validation letter within the proper time frame, which is that 30 days after you receive the collection notice, then they can't report your collection to the credit bureaus until they have validated the debt. So if they choose to ignore this letter, then they have no legal rights to add it to your credit report. They can't just say, yeah, we received this debt validation letter from her and we're just going to ignore it, but we're still going to send the account to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. They can't do that. That's literally illegal. Okay, so they can't ignore this letter unless they are choosing to rescind the collection. Okay, there are multiple credit cousins, and let me know if anyone in here has ever used a debt validation letter and has gotten a collection agency to back off. Let me know if you guys have ever sent one, right? But anyways, they can't ignore you, and if they do, then you can literally sue them. Okay, number two, if they choose to if they choose to respond with the information that you requested, then you can choose like how you want to respond. Like, let's just say you have a collection agency that is on their A game, that has all the required paperwork, that has all the records, everything that you're requesting, and they're able to like send it to you to validate the account. Okay, so once they send it to you, mind you, it hasn't reported on your credit report yet if you caught it prior. Then you can decide, okay, let me go ahead and just settle this account before they report it to my credit report, because then they have no legal right to report it. If you settle or pay the account prior to it reaching your credit report, then they don't ever send it to your credit report, right? They can't send an account that's already been paid to the credit bureaus, right? Like, why would they? Hey, this person has a collection, but it's $0. No, in order for a collection to be accepted with the credit bureaus, it has to have a balance, meaning it has to not have been settled or paid or satisfied, right? So if you don't know who owns the debt, you can't make the right decision. An easy way to find out is to send a debt validation letter. You don't even have, like, literally you can find out who owns it by just calling the original creditor. But Still, if you get a collection notice in the mail, always have a copy of a debt validation letter to send. Okay. Now, for the people who, if the collection is already on your credit report, obviously, then you're no longer in the legally required time frame that demands that they answer in a specific amount of days and prevents them from it reporting to your account. But you still can send a sequestrum to them in order to request this information as well. And I can pull up that letter at the end if you guys need it. All right. So if you don't know who owns the debt, you can't make the right decision. First, ask who owns this account. Ask your original, hey, who owns this account right now? Who has current ownership of this account? Demand that they send it in writing. Don't just go by their word, especially if you're talking to a third party entity. Like if it's the original creditor, then typically, they don't, I haven't ever found them to like blatantly lie about things on the phone or say one thing and do another. Especially for questions like this that is very simple. But also never make a deal, a verbal agreement, a verbal payment arrangement without them proving that they even have legal rights to collect on the account. Like, don't just pay a collection just because it's on your credit report. First, make sure that they can validate the account by simply sending them a debt validation letter. If you don't even know the next step after this, just simply sending them a debt validation letter, at the very least, will put them on notice for you understanding your full rights. Okay. And so it'll help you later on down the line, almost always. All right, so debt recall. So I figured a lot of you guys maybe would wonder what debt recall is, and I believe I made it clear. But just in case you don't know what a recall is a debt recall is when the original creditor pulls your account back from the collection agency and rescinds its rights. So now your original creditor has now they can make decisions on the account regarding your account, right? Whether they'll settle or whatnot. When can debt be recalled? So only if the debt has not been sold. If the original creditor has fully sold it to a debt buyer, then they cannot recall the account. So this is only going to be when it's with a third party collection agency. Okay, so typically you're only going to be granted a recall if it's with a third party collection agency and it's not with a debt buyer. They can also also obviously, unless the original creditor still owns the account, they can't recall it. And then if the credit report, if when you look on your credit report, next to every charged off account, it's going to have an account status and sometimes like notes, right? If it says anything like sold, typically it'll say sold or purchased by another lender. That means that they actually sold the account. They sold it to a debt buyer. But if it says things like transferred to a collection agency or transferred to another agency, then again, it's with a third party collector. So that's another like telltale way or sign to see, who currently owns the debt or what type of collection you have. So, and when in doubt, always ask, was this debt, speaking of to your original creditor, hey, was this debt sold or just assigned? Did you just transfer this debt or was it actually sold? If they say, hey, we know we sold the account, then again, you know that you're dealing with a debt a debt buy collection. Okay. A collection purchased by a debt buyer. That sounds better. Okay. So again, that last slide was out of order because right off the back of the debt validation letter, then here are like red flags to indicate that the collection agency or the entity that you're speaking with may not actually have full ownership of the account or likely cannot validate the debt. Okay, so if you see any of these things happen, or if any of these things happen to you, then that's like a indicator that not everything is right when it comes to how they're collecting on this account, and you probably can get it removed based on some legalities. Okay, so number one, if the collection agency is reluctant to like disclose account information, if they cannot provide the full account number. So with collection agencies specifically, a lot of times they'll say things like, well, we have assigned it our own internal account number, right? And while that is not illegal, like they can do that all they want, right? However, they should be able to at least provide the partial account numbers from the original account, because that's required in order for them in order for them to legally collect on the account. They are supposed to have at least the partial account number from the original creditor. Do not allow them to give you their account number, their internal account number, and then you just take it as it is. Because a lot of times, oh my goodness, you guys, I see this one so often. If somebody sent a debt validation letter or if somebody requests this information, they will literally send you their account number and they'll be like, here's the account number that we have, meaning like who what they're using internally. That does not fly legally. When you request validation of the debt, they have to be able to provide the account number from the original creditor. Okay, that's so important. Very small, very subtle. However, honestly, I've gotten a lot of third party collection agencies collections removed simply because they couldn't provide the account number. Okay, another thing is refusing to send any refusing to like respond to your debt validation letters, or give you any information that you're requesting. If they can't provide the information, um if they're very pressed about getting you making you provide all the information, chances are it's because they don't have the information. Okay. uh and then another red flag is discrepancies in the amount stated on different letters. So this one is super important. A lot of times, as I stated, collection agencies will tack on all these fees, all these charges, um, outside of what the original creditor has given them a right to collect, right? And they'll say things like these are just legal charges, and they will inflate like the charges by like crazy amounts. Literally, next thing you know, it's a $500 account that you now owe like $1,200 on. No, 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 no. So a red flag is like you receiving multiple collection notices with different amounts. If the amount that they're stating that you owe them don't match what you know that you owe the original creditor, all of these are telltale signs. Like no, no, no. And then a big telltale sign that you the collection agencies won't be able to prove ownership or don't have proper validation of the debt of the collection is simply when you start getting multiple collection agencies reaching out to you regarding one debt. Rather, and let me tell you guys a little tip. A way that I catch collection agencies a lot of times. Do me a favor and I would say every quarter, pull a copy of your pull an official copy of your credit report, right, from annualcreditreport.com. And once you download all three of your reports, you need to look at your soft increase. When you scroll down, it's typically like all the way at the bottom somewhere. When you scroll down, look at the soft increase and look at who's been viewing your credit report, right? So your soft increase are those are anytime a company or entity has had access to your credit report even partially. So they're not you haven't applied, you haven't explicitly applied for credit or anything with this entity. However, they have some reason to have a legal grounds to look or receive a copy or retrieve a copy of your credit report, and that is any current creditors that you have or any creditors that have a good reason to believe that you own the debt that they have. That the debt belongs to you that they have, right? So when you see random collection agencies in your soft increase and they're not already on your credit report, chances are it's because they're all trying to figure out if this account is worth buying, right? Or that account is being shopped around, or that account is on its way to your credit report. Collection agencies only are able to retrieve a copy of your credit report and only will be in your soft increase if they have already shown the credit bureaus that they have an account that is yours, okay? Or matches your information on your credit report, right? So don't ever ignore collection agency increase. I look pretty much every quarter, sometimes more. I look every quarter at my soft increase to see who's in there. Like I literally can do a whole webinar on soft increase and what the information that it tells us that most people don't pay attention to. I could do a whole webinar on that because it's so much information in just who's looking at your credit report. And there's you can find out a lot of information after you have proof that they looked at your credit report. Like, you can retrieve the information that they looked at, why they was looking at it, and all of that. But that's a whole nother subject. Okay. So anyways, a key legal point is if the debt has been sold to a debt buyer, only the new owner can collect or sue. So if it was just meaning like the LVNV is not can't claim that you owe them as well as Capital One for the same account. No, that's illegal. That's double jeopardy. They can't both do that. They can't both do that. Wait, where? Okay, it keeps like freezing because I got different softwares up, so it throws me off a little bit. All right, so I wanted to touch on how these different account types or collection types affect your credit report, but also like your credit scores and like the differences between different scoring models. Because again, it definitely matters based on the type of collection that you have. So when it comes to, where's my pointer? Oh, right here. All right. So when it comes to FICO 8, which is the most widely used version of our credit score, typically when you are applying for any credit cards, applying for any retail cards, applying for any consumer debt, they're going to pull your FICO 8. Okay, typically, like I want to say the market share is 85%. So 85% of lenders currently today, well, this was as of 2024. So 85% of lenders as of 2024 is going to pull your FICO 8 score. And that's important because you need to know that paid collections still is penalized under FICO 8. So whether you have paid that collection in full or whether you settled it, literally, that collection, your FICO 8 score is still being penalized if that collection is still on your credit report. So again, regardless if you paid it or not, regardless of how old it is still affecting your FICO 8 score. The older it is, though, the less impact it has, but it is still affecting it. Okay. Unpaid collections under FICO 8 is heavily penalized. Okay. And then when it comes to FICO 9, FICO 9 is literally only used by about 3% or 10%, I guess, of lenders nowadays, or according to last year, rather. But this year, I would even say it's way less. It's way less because of the score underneath it, which is FICO 10T. But there are still a very few lenders who pull FICO 9. So if you have collections that's been paid, and your lender is going to pull your FICO 9 score, then good news, they won't see it. I mean, it won't affect your score. So your FICO 9 score, if you've paid collections already, your FICO 9 score is likely going to be way higher than your FICO 8 score. So therefore, lenders that you know are pulling FICO 8, or I'm sorry, that's pulling FICO 9, then you know you have a better chance at getting approved for whatever you want to be approved for, because whenever you pay a collection, FICO 9 like literally just like omits it from the calculation or the scoring of your credit profile. So once you pay it, FICO 9 ignores it. That's the good news, but the bad news is only about like 10% of lenders actually pull FICO 9, and I would even say it's way less than that now in 2025, but that's just an assumption. Okay, I can't prove it. FICO 9 is typically used by some credit cards, mostly like those like subprime cards will sometimes use FICO 9 more than like traditional credit cards, and then like retail cards. Okay, not retail cards. I can't think of the word. It's at the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. But anyways, now FICO 10T, which is the newest version of our credit score, and if you are unaware of FICO 10T, I also did a whole webinar about that. We also have another webinar coming up about FICO 10T because it was implemented majority this year. It came out, it unveiled last year pretty much, but this year has been the year that it has taken off. And so, yes, this chart states that it only has a 3% market share, but I kid you not, guys, FICO 10T is growing, and it's growing rapidly. It is growing rapidly. So if you don't know how our credit scores have changed, what are the changes that's included in FICO 10T, because that's the newest version of our credit score, you need to get aware, because our credit scores are not the same anymore. They will not be the same going forward. And as many the years that continues to pass post FICO 10T, the more and more lenders will pull it, because it is very lender friendly, not as consumer friendly as FICO 8 or even FICO 9. Is lender leaning, therefore they're going to pull that. Okay. So anyways, then Vantage Score 4.0, which is the newest version of our Vantage Score, and it's the least relevant of all of these four, but it is growing alongside FICO 10T. So those two are going to be more important in the next few years than the top two. Mark my words. Mark my words. Okay. But FICO 4.0 counts all collections. It doesn't matter what type of collection it is, what the balance on it is. It doesn't matter. It'll count it all equally. But FICO 10T ignores paid collections completely, but unpaid collections, it does penalize you. It does still penalize you. Okay. So here's kind of like quick snapshot, quick screenshot worth of charts, worthy charts rather. All right, why does it keep doing this? Let me get a drink of water right on time. Are you guys aware of your FICO 10T score? Has anyone used their FICO? Has anyone ever had a lender pull their FICO 10T score as of yet? And also, are you guys like aware of the changes that's been made to our credit reports? Are y'all aware of what's going on and how they like playing us for real with this newest model? Playing us a little bit. We do have some benefits for sure, but if you don't know about FICO 10T, oh yeah, we're gonna have to definitely. Oh no, we're gonna have to get into that. What just happened? You guys, I literally don't know what just happened. Oh, I see. Let me see. All right, let's see. Where do you do FICO 10T? So if you have the FICO app, then you can see your FICO 10T. And I want to say the Experian app shows it. Yes, I think the Experian app does show it now. They just started showing it. If my memory serves me correctly. Okay, hold on. Yeah, let me go back to it. What slide was we on? All right, let me get back to it. My computer is just so annoying. Okay, we back. Okie doke. All right, so now let's get down to the nitty gritty. Okay, so pay, settle, or ignore. What is the difference? So, number one, obviously, if you pay a collection, then that means that you have fully satisfied the balance and you've paid it in full. So, if the collection agency is saying that you owe $500 and you write them a check for $500, then you have fully paid for that collection account. Okay, the balance should update to zero on your credit report, and also the collection should close. So the account status, it should go from open to close after you have paid a collection account within 45 days on your credit report. Okay. Um, how to decide when to pay for a collection account? Typically, it's reserved for if you are actively applying for like a mortgage account and your mortgage lender has explicitly said pay for this collection account, right? Um, in order to be like approved for that loan. And also if you are able, or not also, or if you're able to get a pay to delete. So if you can get a pay to delete, if the collection agency says that, hey, we will accept, we will delete the account as a result of you making a payment, then and you have it in writing, then go ahead and pay it. Go ahead and pay it. That those are like the like best case scenarios or the best situations I would tend to use when it comes to paying for collections. Okay. Or if it has been fully validated, like if you went through a process with the collection agency, you've challenged them, they've sent you the required documentation, they can really prove that that they can validate the account, then I may pay them. More like most likely I will settle, but you know, you get what I'm saying. So paying, only do it if it gets you something. If it gets you an approval, if it gets you if it gets you a deletion, and I put peace of mind, but honestly, I don't know. Let me not. Let me be a great robot. I was gonna say I don't know how paying the collection gonna give you the peace of mind unless well, actually, let me be for real. When I say peace of mind, it's really because of legally. So let's say you're being sued, and obviously that's stressful. So like paying them and settling the account after you have been summoned to court, I can understand that. So those are like the three situations in which I will go for and just pay for a collection. If my mortgage lender, if I'm trying to get an approval, my mortgage lender has explicitly told me to pay the collection, not me assuming that I need to pay the collection because I'm looking for a home. That's different. Because a lot of times, depending on how old the collection is, it's not going to matter within your mortgage process anyway. Like literally 9 times out of 10, they're way more concerned about charged off accounts. A old collection, and by old I mean over 3 years, it takes a lot for me to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pay that, because most of the time, 85% of the times, I'm just not going to just pay for it, right? Um, so again, only if it gets you something, an approval, a deletion, or a peace of mind. And then make sure that you always use a pay to delete. Request a pay to delete. If you want to just go ahead and pay this collection account, request a pay to delete. If you guys need a pay to delete letter, I will pull it up on the screen. Just let me know. And also never assume paying just helps you or will just get you approved on that home, or will be removed. Never just assume it, because it will not. Again, paying a collection does not remove it from your credit report. Paying a collection only requires the lender, the collection agency, to update the balance on your credit report and state that you have paid the account. So they'll close the collection account and they'll update the balance. Neither of those two brings you points. None of those are retrieves any points lost from that collection account. The only thing that will cause a collection account to help you obtain points is if you were able to get it removed. That's it. A collection account will always be a defaulted account. It will always be a negative account affecting your credit report, regardless, for the life of it. For as long as it's on your credit report. A collection can never be good. It can never add anything positive to your credit report ever, because a collection by default is a derogatory account. That's it. There is no positive status to a collection account. Therefore, if you can't get it removed just changing the account status, it's still a collection. Okay, so just remember that. And then when it comes to settling, so what it means to settle an account is when you do not satisfy the full balance, but you pay a partial payment, and the collection agency is going to accept that partial payment as a full payment on the account. So, as like paying in full for the account, it'll update on your credit report. The balance will update to zero within 45 days. They have to. But also, it will sometimes say like settled for less than the full balance, or just settled, right? Yes, those different ratings are on most collection accounts that are settled. Does nothing to lenders. I don't care what anyone says. It has never made a difference in since all the years that I've been doing this, all the many people that I have helped close on home. It never makes a difference. Lenders used to like to peddle that lie a lot, or collection agencies rather, because obviously that helps them. That helps their bottom line. But you don't get any extra points for settling versus paying. No. So again, settling just means that you did not you sent the partial payment, and the collection agency has accepted it as a full payment, or the company has accepted it as a full payment. Okay, so it may show as settled on your credit report, unless the account was removed, but that's it. It's still a collection. It's just a settled collection, right? And so when should you choose to ignore? So if it is past the statute of limitations or nearing the reporting time, I'm just gonna give it to you guys, Frank. This is the professional answer, but I'm gonna give it to you guys, Frank. Typically I ignore collections if they're more than 3 years old. And I say typically because there are some situations in which the ones that we covered about, the mortgage and whatever, that I would still entertain paying it for very specific reasons. But if you have already allowed a collection account to age more than 3 years, then the best thing you can do at this point is to continue to allow it to age off your report. Focus on building credit right now actively, so that your past credit is not going to like have as much of an impact on your score, right? I much prefer to build around collections if I can't get it removed. Obviously, if you can get it removed, it's worth it. But if you cannot get it removed and you just want to pay or settle it just because, and you don't have a pay to delete, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. Mm-mm. So settling, whenever you are settling, please ensure that you are getting everything in writing. Please ensure that you have it in writing from the collection agency that they are agreeing that they will accept this partial payment as a full payment. Because if you don't, then they could just say, "Hey, we just thought it was a down payment. Like she still owe us $200, $300, $400, right?" Make sure you get it in writing. And yes, I will show you guys the pay to delete, and I will also show you guys the settlement letter. Okay, I got you. I got you. All right, I think we have like 3 more slides, and then I'm gonna take some questions. All right, so I pretty much just went over this, but screenshot screen. So, anyways, tips when handling collections. Whenever you are paying collections, make sure that you try to get a pay to delete first. Do not send those people a dime before you request a pay to delete in writing. And I'll show you guys the letter. Nobody can leave here with an excuse on why they just paid a collection agency and they don't have a pay to delete. Nobody can leave here with an excuse. You send that pay to delete letter and you send it what's what's the freaking, why is it escaping me? I'm sleepy. Certified, Lord. Jesus, certified. Send it certified. Okay, so they can't say that they didn't get it. All right. Anyways, again, never use your main bank account and set a 45-day follow-up reminder. So whenever you do submit the payment for a deletion, they got 45 days. Okay, 45 days. Set a reminder, because at that 45th day, not counting weekends or whatever, at that 45th day, it should be off your credit report if they have agreed to a pay to delete. Ensure that it's off your credit report. If not, send a copy of their pay to delete agreement to the credit bureaus, and send a proof that you paid it, and request that they remove the account, because the company did not rescind the account as per your agreement. Okay. Or you can file a claim with the CFPB, which I typically do as well. All right. So tips when handling when settling collections. Make sure before you are offering any payment, make sure that they can validate it first, y'all. I gave you guys a debt validation letter. I'll show you guys again if you need it. Negotiate. Start. Some collection agencies have a floor ceiling rather. They have a limitation on how much they're able to settle the account. Some will start at 10%. You will be surprised, because they purchase these accounts for pennies on a dollar. They are not paying much at all for your debt. So settling anything is making them money regardless. So a lot of them, depending on how desperate they are, they will accept as low as 10%. I typically kind of start around that 20 and 30%, depending. But you will be surprised, child. Start low. I guess you can negotiate. Make sure that you get your settlement agreement in writing. Use a prepaid card or cashier's check. Settlement amounts by age. So this one is important, and that's why I wanted to include this. If the collection is less than a year old, then they're going to, whenever the first year after a collection. Am I not live no more? Okay. I'm like, what? Okay, so the first year after a collection hits your report, it's the most valuable to collection agencies. Therefore, chances are they're not gonna like entertain a 20% settlement, 30% settlement if it's only a year old. Why? Because they still have a lot of time that account can legally report on your credit report. They also still have time that it's still within the statute of limitations. So if need be, they can sell it to a debt buyer, and so the debt buyer can still sue you. If the account is still within the statute of limitations, it's more valuable. The newer, the fresher the collection agent or the collection account is, it's the more valuable it is. Therefore, the ball is not always in your court at that point, right? So within that first year, you typically are going to see around 70 to 90% settlement amounts that you have to still pay. Between a collection account that's between 1 and 3 years old, then you'll start to see the collection amounts or their leeway dwindling, right? After year 2 3, they kind of assume that they're not going to get the money. Most statute of limitations are starting to end at around 3 to 4 years, depending on what state that you're in. And so the accounts are getting less valuable. The older they get, especially outside of 2 years. I'm gonna tell you guys a trick. Lenders pay the most attention to the last 2 years of your credit report, the last 24 months. That is the most important part of your credit report. So any collections, any charge-offs, any activity really that falls outside of the last 2 years, yes, it does still affect your profile in whole, but understand that the 24 months makes up about 80% of your credit score and borrowing power. 24 months, just 2 years, makes up about 80% of your borrowing power, simply because a collection account that's 4 years old, 3 years old, you could live a whole new life in 3 to 4 years, right? Like most, when it comes to like financial transactions, financial entities, they are only concerned about what you've done for the last 2 years. Namely, if you go buy a house, they're going to say, have you been working at this job for at least 2 years? Have you been have you been self-employed for at least 2 years? Do you have 2 years of tax returns? You That's a repetitive theme when it comes to the financial industry. It's those 24 months. The same goes for your credit report. If you just really focus on the last 24 months of your credit report, or when you are targeting things like late payments, uh entertaining collection accounts, that's your bread and butter. Like, that's what's actually going to get your credit score to rise, to make the real difference in your ability to borrow and all of that. It's the last 2 years. Y'all be tripping on collections that's 4 5 years old, and I'm like, you stressing yourself out for nothing. Like, you're going to potentially re-age this account and then extend the statute of limitations, and it's a cycle, right? No. Really, after 2 to 3 years, I'm not worried about that collection account. And I'm like, I'm trying not to laugh. I don't know why it's funny to me when I like say that in a professional setting, because like if I was at a conference, I would say it a lot more eloquent. However, yeah, my people. So I'm just gonna keep it real with y'all. Stop paying those damn collections after 3 years. Like, no, quit wasting your money. It's too late. The damage is done. Like, if they're not deleting it, please. That collection is not even worth anything. The collection agency is going to have a hard time selling this account anyway. So they're going to be more likely to accept a lower settlement because the account is not worth anything, right? Um, anyways, rent finished, because again, if a collection account is more than 3 years old, then child, you're not getting more than 30% of the balance out of me if I pay you. If I pay you, okay? It's not happening. So yeah, just a FYI. Also, when choosing to ignore collections, typically I only will ignore collections out when it's outside. If it's outside of the statute of limitations, I'm not even entertaining it. I don't care how many letters they send me, how many phone calls uh, how many times they call me. I don't care. If it's outside of the statute of limitations, I cannot be sued. I'm not going to trigger a update or re-aging of the account by entertaining phone calls, possibly mistakenly promising a payment or something like that, so that you can re-age the account. And now I just started the timeline over, right? No, I'm not entertaining it when it's after 2 to 3 years, or if it's outside of the statute of limitations. But anyways, ignoring doesn't mean forget. I mean, I felt the need to put that. It doesn't mean like forget that you have a collection, or not think that it doesn't affect you anymore. It does, like as I just explained. However, it is, I mean, again, as long as you're actively building credit, a collection that's 2 or more years old, it literally should not be affecting anything when it comes to like your approvals or nothing. Like homes, I don't care what you're trying to be approved for. It doesn't matter. All right, so I want to go over the rights really quick. I'm trying to decide if I want to go line by line, or if you guys just have let me just say this. I have 3 screens. So as you guys know, or not as you guys know, because I didn't introduce it, but when it comes to like your legal rights to a debt or to collection accounts, there are 3 bodies of laws that I always like to hang on or hinge on, and those are going to be the FDCPA, which is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. They deal directly with collection agencies and debt buyers, right? And so all of the statutes that are in consumer rights that are within the FDCPA is pertaining to collection. So it's extremely important within this process, because number one, you need to understand that collection agencies you legally only have rather a 30-day validation period when it comes to requesting a validation in order to potentially stop a collection, right? um Also, there are communication limits. They cannot call you before 8 a.m. They can't call you after 9 p.m. Your time. And that's important because there are a lot of collection agencies that are not local to you, that live in different time zones, and will call you based on their home records. That's illegal, guys. They have to have they have to have an awareness rather of where you are, because the communication limits are based on your home state. And let me tell you guys a little secret that I just thought of, a little tip rather that I just thought of. Whenever a collection agency is calling you before 8 a.m. and or after 9 p.m., chances are they don't have your current address. Just a little. There's just some that I've noticed. Not saying 100% of the time, right? However, if a collection agency is calling you before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. based on your time, then it's probably because they either believe that you're in another time zone, because they must not have your current address with your time zone, because no collection agency is going to uh bold, like it's going to be bold enough to call before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. Like literally, like that's a big rule when it comes to collection practices. Okay, so if they're doing that, it's probably because it's a mistake. It's probably because it's a mistake. Just FYI. Um. So yeah, snapshot these, because these are six is yes no five of the main rights that you have under the FDCPA, protecting you and protecting this process. Okay, so this is just something that everyone needs to know. Okay, and then the next set of laws are the FCRA. So the FCRA stands for the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So these are going to be the main set of laws that we use in Credit Academy, the main set of laws that I discuss in Road to 750, or anytime I'm doing a presentation, I'm and especially talking about disputing, I'm usually writing or teaching from the guide or the basis of FCRA mainly, because they cover the credit bureaus. They also deal with like collection agencies and all of that. They basically cover how an account is reported, the legal limitations for our credit report, and all of that. So it's just important to know like the few rights that you have when it comes to collection accounts. It's more obviously, but these are like my go-to. So accuracy requirement. The FCRA ensures also is supposed to ensure that only accurate information is reported on our credit report, right? So if there is inaccurate information on your credit report, then you are going to utilize the FCRA in order to challenge it or potentially get it removed, right? The 30-day dispute rule. Honestly, they don't enforce the 30-day dispute rule, but it is a right that we have whenever we are disputing our collection accounts or credit report. They are supposed to respond within 30 days. It ain't regulated. Sometimes they take way more than 30 days, and a lot of times it's a waste of time to like challenge it or try to get a deletion based on that, because it's not regulated anymore. And so the next right is going to be dual dispute right. You can dispute with the credit bureaus and the collection agencies or debt buyers at the same time. I personally would recommend you not do this until at least round two, but you can do it. You have a legal right to do it, and don't let them lie to you and tell you that the collection agency, don't let them tell you that they don't have to respond to your disputes because you sent the letter to the credit bureaus. That's not how it works. Don't let them do you like that. No, ma'am. And then documentation right. You're entitled to see all the documentation that they have on you, and that's important, especially when you are sending the validation letter and and all of that. Okay, you can request that the credit bureau send you everything that the third party agency has on you. You can request that the collection agency sends you this documentation as per your FCRA rights. And then the last body of law that I wanted to bring, which is not consumer rights. Sorry, it's the statute of limitations. Okay, so statute of limitations is how long you can be sued for an account. What's the time limit that you can be sued for this collection account? So every state has a different statute of limitations, and it'll just say things like your state may have a 3-year statute of limitations, and that just means that after a collection account has reached 3 years, or if a account has been in collection rather for 3 years, then it's no longer legally enforceable. So they can't sue you on that debt, meaning the 9 times out of 10 you're not going to get a debt buyer to purchase that account, right? Or again, the collection agency, but if they can't sue you, if they can't threaten you or even at least make you think that they're going to sue you, then they know that you ain't gonna pay. They know we ain't gonna pay, so they like to kind of threaten us or send us letters from lawyers to scare us potentially into paying. But if it's outside of the statute of limitations, they cannot sue you. So really get to know your statute of limitations for your state. If you don't know, I can pull up that as well. I'm on like Promise 5 at this point of pulling up things. And I hope I can remember all of them. So let me quit. Let me quit promising them. Okay. So yeah. That's that. Okay. So critical legal mistakes to avoid when it comes to collection. Never, ever, 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 ever admit that the debt is yours until they have proved it. Do not go validating your own debt. Y'all be doing the collection agency's job, and y'all be making it so freaking easy for them, and they just be sitting back collecting your money laughing. Mm, mm, mm. We got to stop that, y'all. No. Stop admitting that the debt is yours. And again, it's not always explicitly you saying, hey, yes, this is mine. No, they literally are trained to catch you up, to make you freaking validate your own debt without even knowing. Okay, just shut your mouth and tell them to mail you. Okay, I don't talk to collection agencies over the phone ever. No, I'm requesting written communication only. If I do say something to them, or I'll simply send them a cease and desist letter in the mail. I want to say I will pull it up, but I don't want to add another item onto the list. If we have time, I will also pull that up as well. Okay. All right. So another thing is, don't make partial payments on old debts. Because yes, anytime you make a payment on a collection account, it restarts the statute of limitations. Anytime the account status changes on that account, it restarts the statute of limitations. Disputing the account does not restart it. Okay, that's a myth. And if that happens to you, then that's illegally re-aging it. Okay, it's a whole nother story. Okay, whole nother story. Um, what was I about to say? Oh, also always communicate in writing. Again, we already went over that. Always communicate in writing. And then lastly, document everything. Make sure every letter that they send you, you are taking a picture of that letter and like sending it to yourself, emailing it to yourself, just so you can have a copy of it. Because if at any point you need to prove something like the balances have changed over time, then you're not able to do so unless you have documented everything. Open your mail. That's another thing that I didn't put on here. Open your mail, y'all. I'm always, you know what, let me not even act like, I was gonna say I'm always surprised at how many people don't ever open their collection accounts or don't know that they have collection notices in mail, because they typically like avoid those plain envelope type mail, like type letters. And I was about to clown y'all, but then I forgot that that would be very hypocritical of me, because there has been a time in my life where yeah, I definitely was not opening collection notices. Yeah. But you know what that resulted in, and which is why I don't recommend it. It resulted in a 400 credit score. And that's why your girl had a 400 credit score, because I did not care about collection notices. I I remember a company, I don't even remember what company it was, but it was a company that was like threatening me, like basically, if you don't make this payment, we're gonna add this account to your credit report. I remember thinking, and this was in my younger days, obviously. I remember thinking like, at this point, like, I don't care. You can add it and it's not going to make a difference. Cause like in my mind, I was just like, add it to the rest of them. The rest of when I had 12 collections at one point. So okay, be the 13th. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not gonna really make a difference, but okay. Um, and that's because I didn't used to open up my mail. I definitely didn't used to respond to the collection notices that I did see. Child, I just was young and dumb. No. But yeah, no, make sure you are opening your mail, y'all. Even plain envelopes, because again, if you never see the initial collection notice, then you don't know to respond. You don't know to send them a debt validation letter so you can potentially stop the collection from reporting, right? Unless you're responding to the debt validation, I mean the collection notice, then you can't, right? So open your mail. All right. Now, do not pay a collection if number one, this was supposed to be a animated slide. I don't know what happened in transition, but whatever. So, anyways, number one, do not pay the collection if the collector has not provided validation. So if they've ignored your debt validation letter, if they haven't if you're challenging and they're just not responding, or just responding with all types of information that you didn't even request, that's not considered legally validatable, then don't pay them. Okay. Number two, do not pay them if the debt is over 5 years old and remains unpaid. That's my professional answer. But y'all know about the amount of time that I actually told you that I go by. But professionally, 5 years is typically the FICO recommended number. Okay, so that's the safe answer. My answer that I'm not recommending you guys, but that I am recommending myself. Okay, is 3. Okay, 3 years are old unless it's those specific situations that we discussed earlier. Okay. Number 3, do not pay the collection if they refuse to agree to a pay to delete arrangement. Okay. If they are not deleting the account, then you paying it is not actually helping you. It's only enriching them. Okay. Number 4, do not pay that collection account if multiple collectors are contacting you regarding the same debt. So again, only one entity can have ownership of the account at once. Only you only owe one entity for a collection account at a time. There can't be multiple collection agencies stating that you owe them for this account. No, no, ma'am, no, sir. Okay, so that is your reality. Then do not pay them because there is some ownership information. There's some ownership mix-ups that needs to be cleared up before that account is considered collectible, before you have to pay for that account, right? That's why it's important to know who owns the account without a doubt, like making sure that you know with 100% certainty who has current ownership of this account. Number 5, do not pay the collection account if the amount varies between ladders. So again, if there is inconsistencies between how much you owe them, owe the collection agencies based on your collection notices, based on information that you have in your records or from the original creditor that does not align with what the collection agency is stating that you owe. Varied amounts regarding your credit reports. If TransUnion is reporting that you owe 413, Experian is reporting that you owe 403, and then who I didn't say, Equifax is reporting that you owe 523 for this same collection account, then absolutely not. There's inconsistent information being reported to multiple bureaus. Therefore, who is the main source of this information, and why don't all of them have the same information if it is supposed to be coming from the main source? I mean, the same source, right? No, no, no. So if the amount is varying, again, chances are that that account can't be actually validated. It can't be validated because if they did have correct information, then chances are they would not be reporting different information to each credit bureau. Okay. Um, number six, do not pay that collection if they are making threats of arrest. They cannot threaten you based according to the FDCPA. They cannot just threaten you with any lawsuit. They can threaten you with arrest. They can threaten you with garnishment, because what happens is they are taking the place of the judge. A collection agency does not have the power to garnish your wages, right? Don't hear what I'm not saying. They have the right to sue you, but they do not have, I mean, they have the power to summon you to court, to sue you rather, but they do not have the power to garnish your wages. Why? Because there is a step that has to be taken, or a person, a judge that has to rule that your wages can be garnished. The collection agency cannot decide that. All they can do is bring it to court. Okay, that doesn't mean that you're guilty just because they brought it to court. Therefore, if they are stating things, making empty threats, which is actually against the law, against the FDCPA, if they're saying things like we are going to garnish our wages, which they do a lot, we are going to arrest you, we are going to do this and do that, something that requires a judge to rule on, then that is a threat. That is an illegal threat, and you can actually sue them if you have proof of it. And then number seven, do not pay that collection if they do not allow you time for validation. So if they just sent you a collection notice and then they have not given you the proper 30 days in order to request proper validation, oh no, 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 they can't do that. That's legal. That is it to the legal. Okay. So what do you do from here? They did not save my full slide. I have graphics on here, but that's fine. Your 3-step game plan. Number 1, pull all 3 of your credit reports from annualcreditreport.com. Even if you have credit monitoring, still pull your credit reports. Then you need to go through each account, each collection account on your credit reports and highlight them, right? Identify all of your collections. And then once you've identified all of your collections, identify what type of collections that you have, right? Is it a charged off account still with the original creditor? Is it a third party collection account? Or is it an account now owned by a debt buyer? If you don't know how to get to that, just rewatch this presentation again. Okay. And then who has current ownership of it? So is it assigned? Who has, you pretty much are going to find out 1 and 2 at the same time, because it's the same information essentially. Also, how old is that account? How long has this collection been on your credit report? Okay, like, is it a 3-year-old account? What was the open date according to your credit report? If that open date is greater than 3 years, you heard what I said. Okay, However, if it's within if it's still within the first 2 years of that collection, then you can entertain, some options, right? What is the legal status? Is it currently still within the statute of limitations, or has it surpassed the statute of limitations? Right? And then decide if you're going to pay it, settle it, or ignore it based on literally everything we discussed today. Okay. All right. I wanted to go back to one slide, but you guys can start. I want to go back to this slide really quick because again, these two slides pretty much wrap it up. So I'm gonna give you guys 10 seconds or I'm gonna give you guys a time to screenshot these two next slides, and then I'm going to go and retrieve the letters that I promised you guys. Okay. So, and also if you have any questions, please put it in chat. Put it in the chat and we will get to it. Okay. What I said I was going to show you guys. Can somebody give me a list of the things? What I say? Pay to delete letter. I promised a pay to delete letter. I promised. Hold on. What else? Settlement. Okay. Pay to delete and settlement. All right. So let me bring up pay to delete first. Oops. Spelled that wrong. All right. Make it. Okay. Let's see. All right. Hold on. Let me go to the next slide and then screenshot this, guys, and then I'm going to pull up the letter. All right, so now we are going to. Why is it showing like that? Oh, because it's in between the screen. Oops. All right, you guys should be able to. Can you guys see that clearly? All right, you guys should be able to see that. So this is a pay to delete letter as clearly stated. The title is it like literally is really very simple. All the red letters is the information that you need to fill out. This was supposed to be in black. I must have just accidentally changed that, but yeah. So delete the title always. Fill in your information, your name, your address, whatever collection agency or company you are sending this to, the partial account number as per what is on your credit report, and then send them this letter, and then type your name, right? Send it. I personally, anytime I'm mailing the collection agencies directly, oops, why did it do that? Anytime I'm mailing the collection agencies directly, I usually send it certified just because, I just be wanting to make sure. It's probably just a bias of mine, but I do spend the extra little $3 or whatever to send it to them. So this is a pay to delete letter. You only send this if you are ready to pay for whatever, like typically paying in full for however much you owe for this collection, and then they're going to, and you want them to delete the account. So you send this before you make the payment, okay? Send it to them. They typically will send you a confirmation or a letter in response saying, we accept your pay to delete, blah, 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 right? Then you pay. After you receive their response, then you pay, okay? And then the next, settlement. Hold on. Tell me. Okay, here we go. Now, why I didn't just bring that up? Didn't y'all see me control? Okay. This is a set to do it fit all the way. All right. So this is a settlement letter. And then this is pretty much the same as the same directions as the last one. The information in red you are going to fill out. So right here, you would, based on like the account on your credit report, you would put the original creditor's name, the balance that's listed with the original creditor, so on the charged off account, and then how much you are proposing to settle. So remember that graph I brought up. I don't think I can bring them up at the same time. But if you guys need me to, I'll bring it back up. When I was telling you guys, like, depending on like how old the collection is, this is how much you should start with, starting at I think it was between 10% to all the way up to 90%, depending on how old the account is. Okay. And then same as the top, and I also send this certified because I'm sending it to a collection agency. And so yeah, this is a collection settlement request. You requesting to settle the account for less than a full balance because maybe your mortgage lender has explicitly told you that you needed to settle this account, or if it's a charged off account and you settle it, you will get a few points, but not if it's a collection. Okay. What else? It was another letter. Pay to delete debt valid. Oh, statute of limitations. Okay. Let me pull that up. Statute of limitations. Then I'm gonna get to you guys' questions. All right, statute of limitations. Let me pull that up. Oh, is it in here? Let me control F. All right. I'm gonna show you this really quick while I have this up before I shut this down. So this right here is the letter that you do send if the account is outside of the statute of limitations and the collection agency is still contacting you or still trying to get you to like settle or pay for the account. This is what you sent after it's been time barred. Okay, so just screenshot that because you're going to want to keep that in mind when I show you the statute of limitations chart. Okay. All right. Here we go. Oh, dang it. I accidentally just clicked on Word. That's not what I was even trying to click on. Is this it? Let me see, y'all. I got so many things titled statute of limitations in my I do have it. I know I've made a new. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Right here. Okay. Load. Why is it spinning now? Come on. Hold on, y'all. It's like spinning. Let me answer some of your questions. Okay. Do I need to click on a different one? Okay, I got it. I ended up finding it, but I know I need to make it bigger. All right, so how do I get back? All right. Okay, so this is the statute of limitations chart. Maybe I can make it smaller so more shapes are in each swipe. So these are the statute of limitations based on your state, okay? And then I'll scroll shortly. I'm trying to make it a little bigger. All right. And then I'm going to scroll. So we stopped at Maryland. And just screenshot, and then I'm going to keep scrolling shortly. All right. All right, y'all got it? Let me know when y'all are good. If you've already screenshot, like the video. Like it. Okay, I feel like it was one more thing, but I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to answer you guys' questions. Oh, you don't have it? You ain't have it? You ain't get it? Is that what you're saying? Okay, let's see. I'm scrolling up. Okay, hey Sean. Okay. Hey Shonda, is it true that you can call the credit bureaus and get things removed from your credit due to your information was leaked in a data breach? No. So that is a myth. You should never ever dispute anything over any collection account over the phone, ever, because you are actually giving up, withdrawing a lot of your rights that not only the ones that we discussed today, but also that you need in order to do like a successful disputing process. I would definitely recommend you to go watch uh Credit Bootcamp Day. I want to say 4. It's on my channel. I recently uploaded it, and I go into a lot more greater detail about collection accounts and disputing them. And we talk about all of this. So I definitely would recommend that you go watch that. And I'll give also letters that you can send and all of that. Okay. All right. So Louisiana, what is our statute of limitations? In Louisiana, the statute of limitations is for written debt is 10 years. Louisiana is one of those long states. It's 10 years. It's crazy. It's 10 years. I forgot. Yeah. Um a debt buyer has 2 of my accounts. One is almost 6 years old and I don't want to discuss that one, but the other one is only 2 years old and I want to pay it. How do I handle that, being that they have both? It doesn't matter if the same company owns multiple debts of yours. Each singular debt has the full right. So what you do with one account, they can't just automatically assume that you're doing with the other. I handle them separately. Like literally, I don't even include them on the same dispute letters together when I'm disputing directly with the creditor or anything. Like literally, I act as though they don't exist when I'm discussing one of them. Unless you want to do like a bulk settlement, but yeah. Let's see. A collection just hit this morning. OMG. So send the debt validation letter ASAP. Like send it tomorrow. Send it tomorrow. Send that debt validation letter ASAP. Can you pull up the debt validation letter again? Yes. Actually, oh, it's not up anymore. Hold on. I sure can. Okay, I'm so glad you said that, because this is what I was talking about at first. So remember when I told you guys you can send the debt validation letter before a collection hits your credit report. Um and you would send the letter that we had in the presentation, right? And then if it's already on your credit report, like the person who stated that the collection just hit today, I need to get your name. Oh, Gina. So if your collection just hit today, then you're going to want to send this letter. And this is essentially a debt validation letter, but it's technically called a substantiation letter, which requests basically the same things that debt validation does, but more. So after it hits your credit report, then send this. Send this. Wait, are you guys seeing the full thing? Mm, yeah. Wait. Yeah, because the only thing is at the bottom. Wait, let me just. No, y'all can see it. Y'all can see it. All right. Do they have to abide by the pay to delete? If they accept and agree to it, then yes. If they don't agree to it and you just assume that they'll, give you a pay to delete or a settlement, then no, they don't have to. Only if they agree to it, then they have to abide by it. Yes. Which is why you want it in writing, because you like verbally, then there's no way for you to prove that. Oh, you're responding. I need help with my Jefferson Capital collection. Um, Usually, what is it? Was it a credit card? Typically, they have credit cards. Usually, Jefferson, Lord, I know I'm getting tired. When I get the slipping over my words, I can't even freaking complete a sentence. Jefferson Capital. Uh, I mean, I've gotten them deleted a lot of times, but it was usually based on reporting errors and lack of validation. Where are we at? Can creditors report a charge off every month after month? Go watch week 4 of Credit Bootcamp. We discussed charge offs. All right. It's a full episode regarding charge offs, how they're supposed to report, what to do if they're reporting a particular way, how to challenge them, including the letter. So it's super detailed. So make sure you go watch that. And it's free. It's on my YouTube channel. Okay. I had a medical bill hit my credit last month. I thought that new law was passed. So it was passed, but there was a 90-day, was it 90 days? 90-day period to where they extended the start date. So they pushed it back. They pushed back the start date. So and instead of it starting in March, I want to say the new date was September. And I could be off by like a month or so, but it was they extended that 90 more days. So for the next like 90 days, yes, they can't report. But you should be getting a removal. Oh, let me go back to that. I see. Is it still up? I did not mean to do that. Okay, this is what I was trying to find. My bad, yeah. I'm like, where the freak did the presentation go? All right. I know you guys can't see it. Okay. Let's see. All right. So I wanted to show you guys the debt validation letter again. All right. I gotta get my scenes together. Oh, it's because it's freaking 2 of these up here. Dang it. How do I even delete it? I'm still getting used to this Ecamm, yeah, Ecamm Live, and child, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, what? Hide. All right. We gonna figure it out. You hear me? Why is it? Oh, I forgot I had it. Okay. Whatever at this point. Where was the debt validation letter? Right here. Screenshot that. That is the debt validation letter. If it has not hit your credit report yet, but maybe they're calling you, maybe you see them on your credit report in your soft inquiries. Maybe you received a letter in the mail yesterday or last week. Send them a debt validation letter. Okay. Where we at? Cease and desist letter. Okay. I got you. I got you. Okay, what am I doing? Oh, cease and desist. All right. Dang it. I keep freaking doing that. Forget it. I'm actually quite over this ecam. I need my what you call it? This. I need to hook this back up because it was so much easier when I could just freaking press a button, but I didn't moved around my filming room, so everything is like literally not plugged up how it's supposed to. And child, I've been going through it. I've been going through it over here trying to figure this live out. I literally feel like a rookie live streamer. Uh, I appreciate you guys' patience with me tonight. Technical difficulties or whatever. What I'm doing? Oh, what letter am I even doing all this for? Oh, cease and desist. Okay, this is the last letter, y'all. Cause I'm actually so over pulling up these different screens. Here we go, right here. I do got you. I got you. I got you. All right. Here is the cease and desist letter. So if they're calling you over the phone, you don't know what to say, you don't know how to tell them that you only want to communicate in writing. You legally, as per the FDCPA, if you request that they stop contacting you by phone, then they have to stop contacting you by phone. So send them a cease and desist letter, which is just to cease verbal communication. Okay, which is just sending the letter that's on the screen. What do you do with closed account, and should they be removed? So closed accounts does not mean bad. Closed accounts just mean that it's not open. The only bad closed accounts are if the account is in, if it's a collection account, or if the account was charged off, or if the account was repossessed. So it has to like actually be in a bad status in order for that closed account to be considered bad. But if it's just a closed account of like a loan that you paid off, but maybe it includes some late payments, then you have to assess like if that account is worth disputing. 9 times out of 10, it's not. Just leave closed accounts alone. They do make up your credit history. Focus on building right now. Unless it's like I said, a collection or a charge off or something like that, then you would address it. Um, my collection with LVMV, I have requested a debt validation and have received my statements from the original lender. Should I pay to delete or settle? It's a collection less than a year old. They are a debt buyer, so LVMV is a debt buyer. Not only that, you said you requested debt validation and they've sent you your statement. So again, when they buy the debt, y'all, again they buy rights to the debt, and they typically will request the paperwork and all of the information in order to validate the account from the original creditor that comes like with the deal. So yes, chances are they did validate the debt. So like you said, they did. Now I would do a settlement or a pay to delete. I would try to do either a settlement or a pay to delete. Uh, LVMV will delete it though. I just thought about that. So they will delete it as a result of your payment, but just to make sure, I will send them a pay to delete letter. But typically they do delete, but still get it in writing. Okay. Uh, How about eviction that's past the statute of limitations? So every derogatory account on our credit reports have to operate under the confines of statute of limitations as per our state. And so yes, evictions count as well. Any negative account on our credit report. Um after paying off a Capital One account, how do I get it off my report? So I need more information than that. What is it? Was it a charge off? Did you settle it? Definitely go watch day 4 of Credit Boot Camp though. Um, what does it mean written and oral, and why is there a difference? Because remember when I was telling you guys that over the phone, sometimes you can admit to the debt or you can admit to things, promise things, um, and they can record you. Verbal transcripts hold up in court when it comes to statute of limitations. So If you it just means just that there is not a written contract in place. However, there's a verbal agreement that's recorded. And why is there a difference? Probably because written is easier to enforce than like verbal. So oral is typically going to be shorter. My collection happened when I was in Louisiana, but I now live in Texas. So there's probably are going off your Louisiana address and probably trying to contact you or whatever. Well, have they tried to contact you? Because I don't know if you guys know, but like in 2025, they can really since last year they can now contact us on social media. They can contact us on in our emails. Like they literally can contact us, and that counts as a first point of contact when it comes to collection agencies. It's crazy. If you have already paid your collection and you did not get a pay to delete prior to paying it, then try to send this letter, which is a paid collection goodwill letter. It's just you simply sending it to the collection agency that you've already paid, requesting that, if they can find it in the kindness of their heart to delete your collection because you've already paid and now you're trying to get a house and they're holding you back from getting a home, and because you've already paid in good faith, you're just requesting that they uh grant you a goodwill request, a goodwill removal, which is still removing the collection account. Okay, I always say if you've already paid it, the worst thing that they can say is no. So I would try this with every paid account on my collection. I mean, on my credit report. So when you are going through your collection accounts on your credit report, if any of them has a $0 balance, if any of them says closed, those are two indications that that account is marked as paid or settled, right? So if it's still on your report, then go ahead and send this letter. Just see if they will delete it. There are a lot of companies that will go ahead and grant it to you. There are a lot of companies that's going to ignore you, right? Worst thing they can do is say is no. Okay. Try to send this in order to get a deletion or removal. If you did not like get it in advance, get the payment agreement, pay to delete agreement in advance. Okay. It was one other thing. Why not? Okay, so if you guys, because I'm like, what, this don't have anything to do with the topic, but since I scroll by it, whatever. If you have any collection account on your credit report that has surpassed the 7 year reporting time limit that is universally implanted on our credit reports, doesn't matter what state you live in. The reporting time is a standard 7 years from the date of first delinquency for any derogatory account. So it doesn't matter what state you're in. Any company has 7 years to report that on your credit report. The date of first delinquency cannot change. So it does not matter how many collection agencies, debt buyers that has had access or owned your debt at one point, that date cannot change. So they have 7 years from the time that it went delinquent in order to report it to the credit bureaus. After that, it's done. It's not collectible. It cannot, it's not reportable. So it's considered an outdated account. If you see any collections on your credit report that is older than 7 years, then send this letter, okay? And then I'll take a few more questions, and then we're gonna wrap webinar Wednesday up tonight, and then we're gonna discuss like our next topics or whatever. Or if you guys have any like ideas or any specific topics that you want me to cover when it comes to these webinar Wednesdays, please, by any means, please let me know. Let me know. I definitely can use some inspiration because I'll be like, okay, what do they want to know? But because I have been seeing a lot of questions regarding collections and paying them and all of that, I was like, yeah, we're gonna start with this. All right. So does this information still apply to a PG on a business account? No, those are separate because these are dealing with like your consumer credit report, and so there are separate rules when it comes to that. A lot of them are the same, but there are some that are different. So yeah, I would not just universally apply everything that we talked about today to your business credit report. Okay, so if a debt buyer buys the account, can they now report a one term if I don't have an agreement with them? Ooh, did you go to credit boot camp? So no, collection accounts are actually not supposed to report a payment history. They're not supposed to report a term limit, nor are they supposed to report a credit limit. Okay. Neither of those three things are for third party collection agencies to report simply because that information is only through a contract, a written agreement with the original creditor. Only the original creditor can report a payment history, a term length, or a credit limit. Okay, so check all of your collection accounts. If any of them are reporting a payment history saying like you were late in June, July, and August of last year, if any of them are reporting that you have a credit limit, then they are in violation. If any of them are reporting a past due balance, your collection accounts, if any collection account is reporting a past due balance, then they're in violation. They're not reporting accurately, because a collection account cannot a collection account cannot report any of those four things that I named, simply because all of those things again requires a contract. Collection agencies don't have a contract with you in place, so they're only able to report limited amounts of information. They're not a charged off account. They don't have the same rights as the original creditor, which is why it does matter what account type it is. So good question. I forgot who just asked it. I didn't accidentally click that, but good question, whoever just asked that. I just wanted to mention that I was sued by LVNV, sent the letter to their attorney asking for the purchase agreement, and they dropped the case. They dropped the case with prejudice. No payment made. Yes. Oh, that's awesome. And that all like that goes to show, guys. I don't care how big and bad these agencies, these debt buyers be talking. A lot of times they don't have the required paperwork, and all that they're hoping for and banking on is that you don't know your rights, and you don't know you can request this information. You don't know that you have a right to this information, and if you do request it, they have to send it to you, or they have to stop their collection efforts. That's why it's so important to have always have a, again, debt validation letter or a substantiation letter in the cut ready to send, because the second that you press them back, 9 times out of 10, a lot of them is gonna fall. So they can't actually prove what they claim that they can prove, or what they should be able to prove. I'm telling you, don't get scared of them just because they make their move. Just understand that you have rights as well. You have rights as well. Okay. Let me see. I skip right over yours. Oh, what I my bad. Let me see. Let me make this screen bigger, really. Um, I already answered that. My collection is about 3 or 4 years old, but Experian, it says balance updated March of 2025. Does that mean that the process has started all over? So yes, anytime the balance has updated, then your statute of limitations has started over. So not the reporting time. It still only can report for 7 years from the month that it went delinquent. However, your statute of limitations, which is the amount of time, how long they have to sue you, it does start over. So I'm glad you asked that question, because I also just thought of another thing. If you have a collection account on your credit report and the balance is updated, or there's a change reported, as Andy has stated, and you didn't make a payment, you need to be questioning that. You need to make sure that you are sending that substantiation letter, because within that substantiation letter, not only does it request validation, but it also makes them provide why am I this is escaping me again. I'm sleepy as heck. Itemized list, sorry, an itemized list for the balance. Like, they have to account for every penny of what they're requesting. So how much was the original creditor, how much did the original creditor charge off, and what else have they added on top of that? That's why those letters are important, because if they're just updating your balance and you did not make a payment, then they're just restarting your statute of limitations and hoping you didn't notice. And let me tell you another thing that they do. If you ever get an alert from like your credit monitoring app, and you get an alert stating like you made a $1 payment, uh your collection balance has went down, and it's like $1 or $2 or $3, that is almost always a telltale sign that that account is being illegally re-aged. Why? Because this is what collection agencies, speaking of their shady practices, this is what they do. They will report that you made a $1 payment, because guess what? If you make even a penny, if you make a payment of even a penny, then you have legally agreed to the debt. You have legally taken ownership of the debt. You have legally validated the debt. Anytime we make payments towards our derogatory accounts, then that's legal validation in the eyes of the law. That is considered legal validation. So a lot of times these collection agencies, what they would do is they'll say, hey, they made a payment of $1, knowing that you will see that your collection balance has decreased, and you won't question that. Most people won't question that, because we think that's a good thing, right? However, what's really happening is that collection freaking agency is being shady, and they're hoping literally that you don't notice that they just re-aged this account. So now it resets the timer, and now guess what? If they want to sell that account, the account now is more valuable to them. They can sell it for more money. They can press upon you for longer. They can threaten to like sue you for longer. Yeah, no. So good question. If you did not make a payment and that balance is updated, substantiation letter. What updated, and let me know. As a matter of fact, nope, not it. Not what I was looking for. No, where is it? Dang it, I can't find it right now. I thought, hold on. 'Cause I thought I had, oops, SOL. Hmm. Well, I mean, that's not what I was looking for, but this is also just a good one to have. A 609 dispute letter, not for disputing how the internet tells you to use 609 letters. I almost hate even mentioning 609 letters when I'm teaching online because it's just way overly used and almost never in the right context. But 609 is a good letter and a powerful letter, however, only under the right circumstances. And so it's only to request or reinforce the sources of information. So the reason why I said is I want you guys to also screenshot this is because you may run into a time when in your like credit repair process or like disputing collections or trying to figure out what you're going to do with a collection account where the original creditor or the collection agency is just not replying to your validation letters. They're not sending you the information that you requested, none of that, right? Or they're sending you like what they'll do is they'll send you on like they'll send you irrelevant information like different records and just hope that you accept that as like validation, and it's just not. So this is where a 609 letter will come in, where you are reinforcing that your right to get the source of information, get the information that they have in their file on you, the information that they have regarding this account. That is where 609 letters are relevant. Okay. And so that is the only time that I would recommend that you guys send a 609 letter is when you're requesting information. When you're requesting information, that's it. Don't send it to dispute the validity of an account or anything like that. Okay. Um, I was trying to find another letter, but whatever, I can't find it. So, but it's fine. Um, hmm. Let me see. I have a charge off from a credit card from American Heritage Bank. Is it best to just pay them directly because it's 2 years and they still have the debt? So I would try to settle that account because it's still charged. It's a charge off. I would try to settle. Um, how should I handle closed credit cards that are not yet collections? Should I pay them with a lower interest rate? Call the companies and so those are still charged off and haven't been sold to a collection account. I would settle those. So it's the same as the previous question. If it's still with the original creditor, that's when you want to try to like settle it so that they don't sell it to a collection agency, and then you get a whole new account, a whole new derogatory account that's affecting your score. Um, Again, like you literally are paying for having that original, having that charge off on your credit report as well as having a collection now. So to lessen the damage, the future damage, to mitigate the future damage, I would settle it, especially if it hasn't went to collections yet. My Jefferson deleted them off my credit report after they sent a bill of sale, and then I sent back telling them that it didn't include evidence of my account being included, and they deleted it. You see what I'm saying, y'all? When you know your rights, that's why it's so important. That's why. Did y'all screenshot those? Did y'all all get the rights under the CPA, FCRA, in the statute of limitations. Do I need to bring back up those slides again? It is so important that you know like the rights that you have. And I highlighted what, like four per law, five or so, that is really relevant to this process. So you can, as Zelia stated, just because they send you something, stop accepting it as validation. It drives me crazy because they will send you guys like a bill. That is the one. That is the one that makes me want to freaking blow a gasket. When they send y'all a bill and y'all just stop disputing, y'all don't follow up, you don't ask no questions, you just say, oh, well, they validated this collection, then, maybe I'm just never going to get. I'm like, they didn't even send you. Did you read the letter before you sent this? Like, do you know what you're requesting before you send the letter? This is why I never just like show y'all a letter and give you no context. No, no, no. Like, I need you to know what the letter says and what you are requesting so that you know what to expect. I don't just write these, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't send these letters like an amateur disputer that's just throwing pieces of gum at the wall hoping that it sticks, right? Like, no, we are sending these strategically for a reason. And also, every letter that we send is backed by or enforced by a law, right? It's always that's the only way that I dispute. So if you are ever sending letters from Credit Academy, from Road to 750, like if you're sending letters from me, it's backed by law. It's backed by legal enforcement, right? So I say all that to say, not to say that my letters are special. No, it's so that you know what to expect. Because if they send you anything else, then that's not what we requested. So quit letting them send y'all things like bills, freaking bank statements. What's another one? Utility companies love sending that last bill, that final bill. They love it. Stop letting them just send you a bill and you accepting it as validation just because the credit bureau said we validated this account and then they sent you that. No, that's just the beginning. You need to follow up. You need to reinforce your rights. I did not ask for this. This is what here are a list of the things that I asked for. Unless you can provide that, then this is not legally validated. And I'm not gonna keep going back and forth with you. I'm gonna give you one, at the most two more times to get it right, and then I'm just gonna file a complaint. I have all the documentation to prove that I have went through the right measure, and I've done everything that I've legally needed to do in order to now say that you are officially in violation of my rights. Okay, I stop letting them play y'all. Like, for real, that be making me so mad because they really do. It's the bills for me. It's the bills for me. How many of y'all didn't receive the bill as a response of your disputes? Okay, when sending the letters, is it one item per bureau, or can you include multiple items on each letter? So yes, you can include multiple items on each letter. Well, okay, I'm sorry, let me take that back. When you are mailing collection agencies, it's one per letter because it goes directly to the collection agency. And chances are you probably have like different collection agencies or collections on your credit report. So when I'm sending letters directly to the collection agency, it is one by one. When I'm sending dispute letters or challenge letters to the credit bureaus, then I group a couple of them. Okay. For example, let me show you an example while I have this up. Let me just scroll to the top. For example, this is the advanced one, so it starts at round 4. I was trying to pull up like around one letter where I can show you that you can list multiple. But it is not this one. So just ignore everything that I just said. But yes, so to answer your question, if I'm mailing the collection agency, I do single. And then if I'm mailing the credit bureaus, I include multiple. Can you please show the first page of the statute of limitations again? I sure can. Here we go, right here. Let me move your comment. And I'll just go ahead and scroll through as I am answering your questions. Where? Okay, here it goes. can they start over the SOL without your consent? So it's not consent that restarts the clock for SOL. It's three things. You've paid on the account, you have um, did a verbal agreement with them to pay on the account, or you've actually made a payment on the account. That's it. Good evening. Can you get into the boot camp even though time has passed? So actually, great question. Let me show you guys. Um, where is it? Okay. Oh, it's going. I have to wait until this. All right. So if you go to my YouTube page, which is hold on, it's not in the. If you go to my YouTube page, if you go, where is it? To playlists, and you look at I have a full playlist of all 5 episodes of Credit Bootcamp, and it's not a time. It's not barred by time. So to answer your question, I would absolutely still go to bootcamp because I ended up putting it on my YouTube page and making it for a free for all for everyone. If you join the Credit Academy community, then you also will have it, but you will also have the downloadables included with each copy of Credit Bootcamp. Um, and so yeah. Oh, let me and so yeah, so go to my YouTube page and then go to Credit Bootcamp. If you have not seen Credit Bootcamp, I would absolutely recommend everyone to watch it because it's super jam packed with information, like every single week. Discussing third party agencies and bankruptcies and their secrets to stalking you, credit cards, credit reports, all of that. Okay. Oh wait, what was we looking at prior? All of this. All right. Let me go to the next page. Um, when we send letters to collectors, do we send our correct address, meaning how they send it back? So yeah, I don't ever have a problem with them having my address, simply because if they do have a collection that they think is mine, I want a chance to be able to challenge it. And I'm going to either send a debt validation letter or a substantiation letter because you're going to have to validate this debt. In order for you to properly validate this debt, you're going to have my address so you can send me the documents, right? Long gone are the times where we have to like try to like hide from collection agencies. They already know where you at, friend. If they don't know yet, they will find out, especially when it comes to like companies like LexisNexis or these other stalkers that literally know our every move. It's nearly impossible to really, really not be found nowadays if you have a digital footprint. Like it's really no point. Plus, like I said, you don't want them to verbally contact you, so you send them a cease and desist, but you want them to contact you via mail because you need to know if they're suing you or the paperwork that they have, and you also need to challenge them. And in order to do so, they have to have your address. Them having your address is nothing though. Like that is literally nothing. I joined the Credit Academy and I'm very happy. Everything she's telling us is what we learn with the letters that we send through her system. Yes, speaking of, that was a great alley oop, low key. Shameless plug. If you are not in Credit Academy, I would definitely recommend that you join Credit Academy. And if you don't know what Credit Academy is, I will give you a little sneak peek of our community. So Credit Academy is the community. Oh no, it's cut off. Hold on. Let me resize the screen. I got to get my preloaded screens for all the things that I do. I'm gonna work on that tomorrow. So this is Credit Academy. So it's our own community. It's an app or online, but we this is literally where everything is. Oh yeah, I can't see the side. Freak. Hold on. Dang. Okay, I ain't gonna. Y'all need to see that. It's whatever. Hold on. they keep doing that? That is killing me. Okay, whatever. So, anyways, Credit Academy is the a community that I've built based on what we do here, but like more. So we have our neighborhood where you can come and tell what's on your mind, tell what you're currently struggling with, looking for. I don't want to show anyone's information, so I'm just gonna kind of scroll. But the great part is we have things like the Learning Lab, which is going to be FAQ style post that I have went step by step to explain or answer a particular question that members have had. Also, we have the replay center where it is past like webinars and just all type of things, webinars, but also in most of the webinars they will include downloadables like kits. What was this? This is the How to Challenge a Bankruptcy webinar, and then there is a free bankruptcy kit that comes along with it. We also have our book club, which we're currently reading the Psychology of Money. We have 2 more meetings left till we are done with the Psychology of Money. We meet every other Monday to discuss our, reading schedule, and then we will move on to another book. So that has been super fun. And the Share Your Win section, we have just the credit cousins are always winning. Like, I mean, we could be scrolling really for days, quite literally for days. And the proof is in the pudding. The credit cousins really get to it. But anyways, and then we have, and by the way, everything that I just showed you guys is in the open community. So that's the free part of the community. So even if you don't upgrade, you still get access to everything that I just showed you. Then we have the Inner Circle, which is the VIP members, and they have access to the members lounge. They also have access to the academy, also the member files. So like the Learning Lab, but the member files is with a lot more detailed information and like every kit that I offer, like the eviction kit, repo dispute kit, every letter that I come up with or that any of the members need me to personally customize, I will add it to the member files and you have access to it. But mainly the dispute portal. So the dispute portal for Credit Academy is disputing your account. So if you have accounts that you're trying to dispute, you don't know how to dispute it, you don't know where to start when it comes to reading a credit report or how to start your credit repair process, it is a guided DIY process. So you are still responsible for sending your letters, but the dispute portal takes the heavy lifting of off of your own back. And I will show you guys the actual portal, but it's going to make me like log in and it's going to bring up like personal information like emails and stuff like that, and I haven't vetted it. Okay, so but anyways, the dispute portal will import all 3 of your credit reports every single month, and then it will customize your dispute letters for you. It'll send them to your email, and then all you will need to do is put it in an envelope and mail it to the collection agents or mail it to the credit bureaus or the collection agencies. You tell the system that you mailed your dispute letters, and then the following month in 42 days it will refresh your credit report and pull in a new copy of your credit report to determine what accounts was deleted. Of the accounts that you already disputed, which accounts still remain. The accounts that are still remaining, it'll then customize a follow-up letter, a round 2 letter based on your previous dispute so that you can continue your dispute process, and then rinse and repeat. Yeah, and depending on like what you're disputing, and it'll identify any inconsistencies on your credit report, anything that's not reporting the same across the credit bureaus, anything that's reporting or missing information or outdated. It will identify those and customize you a letter to dispute them. Okay, so that is the VIP. It comes with everything. Obviously the open community comes with, as well as the Inner Circle, and then also exclusive webinars. So and also ask Shonda Q&A twice a month. I try to do them twice a month, but at the very least once a month I'll do just a Q&A session that's only for the VIP members. I'm only answering their questions, anything they want to ask. No topic is off limits. And then you have access to, again, everything that I do. If you're in a VIP member, you'll get it for free. You get access to it, every letter that I have, everything, and then exclusive webinars and all of that. Okay, so that is the VIP, and then again the open. But let me give you guys the link because I know you guys are probably going to ask for it. I'll drop the link to the open community, and then you can decide after if you would like to update. It's up to you, friend. Hold on, let me get the link. Oh no, I can't show you guys this stuff. It's the admin portal. I don't want to show nothing that I'm not supposed to. So I'm gonna pull that one off the screen and then I'll give you guys the link, okay? I don't want to show y'all nobody's social or nothing, child. Oh, here you go. All right. Oh, I'm getting sleepy, y'all. Here we go. Lord, it took me all day. All right, this is the link. I'll drop it in the comments so you guys will have to click on it because it is a private community, so you likely won't be able to like find it on Google. So here is the Credit Academy community. This just gives you access to the open community. I just dropped it in the chat, y'all. And come on, hang out with us. Become a credit cousin. Oh, let me go down because I did say I was gonna finish these right here. Yes, the Credit Academy is different from Credit Bootcamp. Credit Bootcamp was just a webinar series. It was just a webinar series. That's it. It was a 5-week webinar series. Smart. I didn't know she did that. I thought Smart Credit did. So Smart Credit is who is our report provider. So going through Credit Academy, Smart Credit will is the provider of the credit reports and the monthly refreshes. So they're pulling your detailed reports every month through Smart Credit because they have licenses with yeah, and yeah, but it's Credit Academy who does the actual dispute portal, but they are our report providers. Yes, we have letters for personal information. We actually have a whole webinar for personal information that I absolutely highly recommend everyone to watch. And that comes included with a personal information kit and all of it. Shout out to Garrison. All right, I'm gonna take a few more and then child, we've been on her long. Okay, I'm gonna take a few more and then we're going to end it tonight and then I'm gonna see you guys next webinar, okay? Because I am tired, child, very tired. Derogatory for hold on. If I am able to pay to delete with a collection agency, what would be the steps to try removing the original company once the collection is deleted from my report? So then you're challenging the charge off. Then it comes to just challenging that charge off. Usually, only way you're going to challenge a charge off is based on inconsistencies, and there's a full list of things that could be wrong with a charge off account. I would suggest you go watch the charge off webinar because what I'm showing you right now is definitely not the full list, but since it's in this document, I can try to show you. But it's a lot more information in week, I want to say 3 or 4 of Credit Bootcamp. Let me make this a little smaller. So these are like common inaccuracies that are on either collections or charged off accounts that you can look for. Credit Academy, the dispute portal will look for all of these plus so it'll look for 32 total. I don't know how many of these this is, but Credit Academy, the dispute portal looks for 32 discrepancies or inconsistencies or reporting errors on your credit report and will identify them and properly challenge them for you. Oh, my bad. Yeah, when you say no to final bills, is that strictly with third parties or does that include buyers as well? It includes anybody. If you're requesting validation of the debt and they're only sending you a bill, no, that's not validation. And they think they slick, but yeah, that's not validation. So whoever, it applies to whoever. Shout out to Nicole. She said she got LVMV removed by disputing Metro 2 because her collection was reporting one term with Experian, the one what we just discussed, and she didn't dispute it with the other 2 bureaus. How do I get it removed? So dispute it with them unless if they're reporting it inaccurately like that. Sometimes you only are able to dispute specific discrepancies with one bureau because they're the only bureau that's reporting inaccurately. And then for like the other two, I usually just send every dispute letter to all three, to be quite honest with you. But also, I'll, if I can't get it removed, then I'll just go ahead and request validation to ensure that they can validate it. Why would we use the time bar letter if it hasn't been 7 years? So that's based on outside of the statute of limitations. So the reporting time, the 7 year reporting time, and the statute of limitations are two separate things. Derogatory. Okay, this is the last one I'm gonna do. So derogatory from a derogatory account for $3,040 from Sprint in December 23. Jefferson picked it up and has Uni reaching out, seen on Smart Credit along the lines about if it's over 3,000, you shouldn't pay to delete. If that's true, not that you shouldn't pay to delete, you just have a less chance of them accepting your pay to delete. Because remember, pay to deletes are up to them. Like you are at their leniency. Like if they want to accept it, then that's all up to them, because there's no law that requires them to delete it at all, even after payment, unless you have an agreement in place. So it was just saying like companies are less likely to accept pay to delete with collections over 3,000. That doesn't mean it's impossible, because credit cousins still get them regularly, but that's just like statistically you are less likely to get one over 3,000. So you tend to have to like settle. Oh, the time bar letters if the collection is outside of the statute of limitations. I'm sorry. I think I misunderstood your question. So the time bar letter is if the collection account has surpassed the statute of limitations within your state, and they're still trying to collect on it. Like they're still trying to like say, we're going to take you to court, or you have to pay this, because no, they can't, they have no legally enforceable rights at that point. That ain't even what I was looking for. Wow, I just did that. Okay. No, it's messing up. Whatever. All right. So that is going to be it for this webinar. I really enjoyed you guys tonight. And so next topic, we'll vote on it actually in a group. I was going to actually put up a poll on different topics that I have been, playing around with doing next. And I have the presentations pretty much done for all of those. So I'll put that poll up tomorrow, and make sure you guys are in the Credit Academy, whether that's the open community or VIP. Make sure you're in the group in the neighborhood, so you can decide what the next topic will be for our next webinar next Wednesday. And also we have another Q&A coming up Friday. Okay, so I will see you guys later. You guys have an awesome night. If you did not catch the full webinar right now, replay it on YouTube. Okay, replay it on YouTube, or if you're in the group, you can replay it there. And yeah, I will see you guys later. Bye.